A huge test. Many thanks to all the seniors. Lu Ming cupped his fists and said. It was already very difficult to become a Zongzi candidate. After all, Lu Ming had only just arrived. He had only managed to become a Zongzi because of Yan Kuangtu and the martial prowess of the Nine Sons Supreme. If he had come alone, it would be impossible for these big shots to compromise, and he would not have the chance to show off. He would first obtain the Zongzi candidate position, then he would have to fight for it himself. Du Songjue and the rest nodded. Lu Ming's neither arrogant nor impatient attitude made everyone satisfied. First of all, I'll make you a Zongzi candidate. However, if you want to become an official Zongzi and take charge of the Talisman Amulet sect in the future, there's one more condition. Du Songjue said slowly. It's here. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. He understood that there would definitely be conditions. It would not be that simple. Senior, please speak. Lu Ming said. The condition is that you must stand out in the upcoming Battle of Providence and win first place. That way, you can immediately become an official Zongzi after the Battle of Providence ends. Du Songjue said. The sect masters and elders of the Talisman sect, and Puppet sect stared at Lu Ming without blinking. Before Lu Ming could speak, Yan Kuangtu roared. What? The first place in the Battle of Providence? How was this possible? Lu Ming has only cultivated for a short period of time. You are deliberately making things difficult for him. This condition is too difficult. Change it. First place in the Battle of Providence. Even though Yan Kuangtu was mentally prepared, he was still shocked. He did not doubt Lu Ming's talent. However, Lu Ming's cultivation time was still slightly shorter than the other geniuses. The top 100 on the list of top 1,000 talents were all crazy, especially the top 10, who were extremely terrifying. Furthermore, there were also many newly emerged Heaven's favorites who were extremely brilliant. No one knew how strong they were. And this was the human race. The heavenly monster tribe had many descendants with powerful bloodlines. It was too difficult to win first place. This was simply deliberately making things difficult for him. Yan Kuangtu, this condition is difficult, but it's even more difficult to break through to the Martial Emperor realm and compete with DE. The Martial Royal Realm only appears once every few thousand years in the Eastern Barren Territory. How many Heaven's favorites have been born in the past few thousand years? Even if this generation is a golden age with many geniuses, there are only a few who can break through to the Martial Emperor realm in the future. Lu Ming must suppress this era so that he can have a chance to break through to the Martial Emperor realm in the future. Only then will he have a chance to compete with or even defeat DE. Meng Chong's eyes were bright as he shouted. Yan Kuangtu remained silent. He knew that Meng Chong's words made sense. Good. I agree. A clear voice suddenly sounded. Many people's eyes lit up and they looked at Lu Ming. Lu Ming stood in the hall quietly, his body straight. His eyes were filled with determination and confidence. First place in the Battle of Providence? He had to do it and he had to do it. As Meng Chong had said, if he couldn't do it, how could he fight against Martial Emperor DE? Anyone who had reached the Martial Royal Realm was a legend. And he wanted to create his own legend. Although he knew it would be difficult, he was motivated only when there was pressure. All right, it's a deal then. If you can obtain first place in the Battle of Providence, you will definitely bring great luck to the Talisman Amulet sect. When that time comes, I will not go back on my words and will definitely assist you to become the sect leader. Anyone who wants to stop you will have to go through me first. Du Songjue stood up, his voice resounding and powerful. In the past, the Puppet sect wanted to seek refuge with Martial Emperor DE because they were afraid that the Talisman sect would be destroyed. They just wanted to leave behind some of their descendants, not because they were really afraid of death. That's what I wanted to say. Chapter 860 by Qi Xue. Qi Xue, what kind of attitude is this? Alright, now, bring Tianyun to Cloud Peak Residence. You can also take a look around the surrounding area. Bai Shijin ordered. Bai Qi Xue stomped her feet and turned to leave without looking at Lu Ming. Lu Ming touched his nose with a bitter smile. He really wanted to suggest that Bai Shijin arrange another place for him to stay. It would be more peaceful to stay alone. However, He thought that the Yun Peak house must be very special. It must have been specially arranged by Shijin. Lu Ming did not say anything. He bid farewell to Yan Kuangtu and Bai Shijin and left with Bai Qixue. After Lu Ming and Bai Qixue left, Yan Kuangtu looked at Bai Shijin with a faint smile and said, "Bai Shijin, you're really a sly old fox. What are you planning by arranging for such a beautiful disciple to stay with Lu Ming?" Cough cough. Bai Shijin coughed a few times and blushed. "Brother Yan, you're thinking too much. Lu Ming is a genius. I just want my disciple to learn more from Lu Ming. As for the sparks between young people, that's all up to fate." Ha ha ha. Bai Shijin laughed awkwardly. The meeting hall was at the center of the Tai Chi Yin Yang fish. Lu Ming followed Bai Qixue out of the meeting hall and walked toward the Yin fish. Along the way, Bai Qixue pouted and did not say a word. She did not even look at Lu Ming as she continued to fly. Lu Ming smiled bitterly. He could only brace himself and follow. Liangyi Mountain was very vast and occupied a large area. There were countless mountains, lakes, and blessed lands. The two of them flew for more than 100,000 miles, crossing countless mountains and rivers along the way. Finally, they flew toward a peak shrouded in clouds and mist. On the peak of the mountain, there was a courtyard that was exquisitely built. This was Yun Peak House. What a wonderful place! Lu Ming's eyes lit up the moment he landed on the mountain. He could feel the mental energy fire throbbing in his sea of consciousness. It seemed that he could easily sense the existence of the inscription laws and absorb the inscription power from them to upgrade his mental energy fire. Lu Ming secretly sighed. The world was really wonderful. There were all kinds of strange places. Some places had spiritual eyes and extremely dense spiritual energy. Some places had eyes of Tao, which could help him understand the essence realm of heaven and earth more clearly. However, there was the eye of inscription here, which could easily sense the laws of inscription and absorb the power of inscription. No wonder Bai Shijin had arranged for him to come here. He also hoped that he could improve faster before the Battle of Providence. Bai Qixue opened the door and walked in, followed by Lu Ming. As soon as he entered, Lu Ming noticed that there were some platforms in the courtyard. On the platforms there were various materials. Lu Ming took one look and knew that they were the materials to refine various runes and inscription scrolls. It seemed that Bai Qixue had been making runes here. "That room is yours." Bai Qixue pointed at a room on the left and spoke for the first time. Her voice was clear and pleasant to the ears. "N." Lu Ming nodded. "Also, let me tell you, the things in this courtyard are all things that I used to make inscription scrolls. If you don't understand, don't touch them, understand?" Bai Qixue looked at Lu Ming. She had never seen Lu Ming in the Talisman Amulet sect. Among the paragons of the Talisman Amulet sect, there was no one named Lu Ming. She did not know where her master had found this person. He was so important to her that he even allowed him to stay in Yun Peak House. However, in her heart, since he was not a paragon of the Talisman Amulet sect, his Tao of inscription would not be any better. She was really afraid that Lu Ming would damage her materials and disturb her cultivation. "All right, I won't touch it." Lu Ming nodded. He could not be bothered to argue with a young lady. Immediately after, Lu Ming looked around and walked into the room on the left, closing the door. "Humph. I'm cultivating here alone, and I'm free. Master even arranged for someone to come in, and he's a man. I have to think of a way to make him leave on his own." Bai Qixue looked at Lu Ming's door, her eyes darting around. "Yes, I did. He just came here, so he must not know anything. I just ignored him after that. What did he ask me? I already said I don't know. Let's just ignore him and see how long he can stay." With that thought in mind, Bai Qixue smiled and felt much better. She started to study the inscription scrolls in the yard. "This place is indeed wondrous. My mental energy fire is about to make a breakthrough. Let's try the effects." Lu Ming immediately sat cross-legged and activated the meditation. Immediately, his mind seemed to pass through layers of void and enter the inscription law. The surrounding inscription power was endless and very clear. It was as if Lu Ming could quickly absorb it with a single thought. He immediately started cultivating. Wisps of the power of inscription passed through the void and landed in Lu Ming's sea of consciousness. They were absorbed by his mental energy fire, and Lu Ming's mental energy fire slowly became more vigorous. In his sea of consciousness, 4 blue spirit lamps were burning fiercely. They had already reached their limit and were only one step away from lighting 5. This is amazing. I can absorb the power of inscription dozens of times faster than other places. It's even more amazing with my meditation of the underworld. Lu Ming was shocked, and he put in more effort in his cultivation. In the blink of an eye, a day and a night had passed. In his sea of consciousness, the flames of the 4 blue spirit lamps were already at their peak. Suddenly, a blue flame appeared in the 5th spirit lamp and jumped in the air. The 5th lamp of spirit was lit. Lu Ming opened his eyes after a while. 5 blue spirit lamps. Now, my spirit energy is boundless. I wonder what level it has reached. Lu Ming pondered for a moment. Then, he waved his fingers and started to inscribe in the air. Inscriptions appeared and glowed as if they were going to be carved into the space. In an instant, an array was formed and embedded in the void, shining with a faint light. Unfortunately, after 10 breaths, the formation collapsed. There's still a gap. My mind power can't inscribe formations in the air yet. Perhaps I'll be able to do it if I light 1 or 2 more lamps. Lu Ming pondered in his heart. If this was known by others, their jaws would probably drop. It was extremely difficult to inscribe an array in the void. One had to be a rank 7 true inscription refinement master, which was equivalent to a spirit embryo realm expert. Furthermore, a true inscription alchemist who had just broken through to rank 7 would not be able to do so. The array carved in the air could not be left there for long. Only an expert among rank 7 alchemists could do it. As for Lu Ming, he was only a 6th level alchemist, but the array he inscribed could already stay in the void for a short time. He believed that if his mental strength was stronger, he could really inscribe an array in the void. This was extremely shocking. A level 6 inscriber could inscribe an array in the void, and not many people had been able to do it since ancient times. Once it was achieved, Lu Ming's combat strength would increase rapidly, and the restrictions of the Tao of inscription would be even less. With my current combat strength, I'm still far from being able to win first place in the Battle of Providence. It's unrealistic to rush up in either one of them in a short time. Martial arts and the Tao of inscription must advance together and cooperate with each other to exert great power. Only then will I have a greater chance of winning. The most important thing now is to raise the bloodline of the 9 dragons to the level of divine bloodline again. The Talisman Amulet sect focuses on the Tao of inscription. I believe that there will be a lot of demonic beast blood essence. I'll go and buy some first. At the thought of this, Lu Ming got up, pushed the door open and walked out. Chapter 861 Guidance. As soon as he walked out of the room, he saw Bai Qixue concentrating on making inscription scrolls in the yard. A piece of white paper made of special materials was placed on the platform. Bai Qixue frowned and a blue spiritual fire glowed on his fingertips. Some powder-like materials were sucked into the air and turned into runes under his fingers. Then they were absorbed into the paper. Inscriptions would appear on the white paper, intertwining with each other, creating a beautiful and dazzling sight. A Class 7 Level 6 Skyfire Godly Sword. Lu Ming could tell at a glance that Bai Qixue was refining a 7th level Skyfire Sword inscription scroll. Once this inscription scroll was activated, it could release a Skyfire Sword, which was equivalent to the attack power of the 7th level of the spiritual ocean realm. Lu Ming was not in a hurry to leave. He appeared behind Bai Qixue silently and watched with great interest. Bai Qixue's technique was very exquisite, and her speed of inscribing was also very good at controlling the spiritual fire. His usage of mental energy fire has already reached the advanced stage of minute subtlety. As expected of by Shijin's disciple. Impressive. Lu Ming secretly admired her. Besides the strength of one's mental energy fire, an inscription master's combat strength and mastery of their Tao of inscription were also related to their usage of the mental energy. If one's mental energy fire was used to an extremely profound level, one could completely defeat a stronger opponent, just like fighting above one's level in martial arts. The usage of mental energy fire could be divided into 5 realms: Adept, Minute, Heart, Intent, and Divine. Each realm was further divided into the early stage, middle stage, late stage, and peak stage. Generally speaking, A rank 6 alchemist who could reach the minute subtlety was already considered a genius. The third realm, the heart, usually required a rank 7 alchemist to master. Intent movement required a rank 8 inscriber to master it, while the Shunha required a rank 9 imperial path expert. Bai Qixue was very young, but she could control her spiritual fire to the late stage of refinement, which was already very rare. She could be considered a peerless genius. Bai Qixue's fingers were moving in the air smoothly. Inscriptions flew into the paper one after another. The Skyfire Godly Sword Talisman Scroll was about to be completed. Bzzzzz. Suddenly, a cloud of green smoke came out of the talisman scroll. The entire talisman scroll burst into flames and burned fiercely, turning into ashes in the blink of an eye. Failed again? What's going on? Can't I inscribe a rank 7 level 6 spell scroll with my current cultivation? Bai Qixue gritted her teeth and frowned. At this moment, he realized that there was something strange behind him. He turned around and saw Lu Ming sizing her up. Arg! What are you doing? Bai Qixue was so shocked that she almost jumped up like a frightened rabbit. I didn't do anything. I just happened to see you refining talismans, so I just took a few more glances. Lu Ming smiled. Do you understand what I'm doing? You gave me such a big scare. You're not allowed to hide behind me so sneakily in the future, or I'll report you to Shizhuan. Bai Qixue patted her chest and glared at Lu Ming. All right, I won't peek anymore. By the way, where can I buy materials, treasures, spirit herbs, and the like? Lu Ming asked. You want to buy something? I don't know. Bai Qixue rolled her eyes and said. You don't know? Where did you get these materials? Lu Ming was stunned. None of your business. Bai Qixue pouted. Lu Ming found it funny. This Bai Qixue was really like a little girl. Was she deliberately making things difficult for him? I remember Senior Bai Shijin telling you to take care of me, but you didn't even tell me this. In that case, I can only send a voice transmission to Senior Bai. Lu Ming sighed. Wait a moment. Bai Qixue was shocked. If Lu Ming had sent a voice transmission to Bai Shijin, she would probably be scolded again. You can buy these things in the treasure pavilion. Don't ask me where I'm going. I don't have time to take you. Here's a map. Take a look yourself. Bai Qixue had no choice but to take out a map and give it to Lu Ming. At the same time, she pouted her lips, cursing Lu Ming for not being a man and using her master to pressure her. Lu Ming opened the map and took a look. He then kept it and smiled. Many thanks, Miss Bai. Having said that, he walked towards the main entrance. When he reached the main entrance, Lu Ming seemed to have thought of something. He stopped in his tracks and said, Miss Bai, when you are refining the talisman scroll of the heavenly fire sword, why don't you lighten the blazing inscription on the 136th line by 2 points and increase the sharpness inscription on the 565th line by 1 point? Also, delay the use of the flint powder by 5 breaths. Perhaps it would be better. With that, Lu Ming strode out of the main door and headed towards the treasure pavilion. Bai Qixue was stunned for a second, then she snorted and mumbled, You're just pretending to know what you don't know. Nonsense. How can it be that easy to refine the talisman scroll of the Skyfire Godly Sword? It's fine as long as I modify a few places. I'm just not familiar with it yet. If I continue to practice more, I'll definitely succeed. After that, Bai Qixue continued to work on the scroll of the Skyfire Godly Sword. But after that, she inscribed it twice in a row, both of which ended in failure. The talisman paper burned and turned into ashes. What's going on? Can't I inscribe a Class 7 Level 6 inscription rune scroll? If I can't even inscribe a Tier 7 Level 6 inscription scroll, I'll have no chance of getting any opportunities in the Battle of Providence half a year later. Bai Qixue frowned, feeling angry. Why don't we try the method that guy mentioned? Lu Ming's words flashed across Bai Qixue's mind. She shook her head and thought, that guy is probably just making things up. Why should I believe him? Although he thought this way, Lu Ming's words still lingered in his mind. What a detestable fellow. He's deliberately disturbing my state of mind, right? Humph. I'll give it a try. If it doesn't work, I'll report this to Master and have him driven out of Cloud Peak residence. That's right, I'm so smart. At the thought of using this method to chase Lu Ming out of Cloud Peak House, Bai Qixue smiled happily again. She took out a piece of talisman paper and started to inscribe the Skyfire Magical Sword Talisman Scroll. This time, she had followed Lu Ming's instructions for the few key points. His fingers trembled slightly, and inscriptions flew into the talisman paper, intertwining on the talisman paper to form a mysterious and beautiful picture. Buzz! After a while, when Bai Qixue finished the last inscription, the talisman paper started to shine. There was a faint sound of a sword, and a mysterious formation was shining on the talisman paper. Success! Did you succeed? Bai Qixue's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. Her mouth was wide open as she stared at the scroll of the Skyfire Magical Sword in shock. It was a success. She had never expected that according to Lu Ming's method, it would actually succeed. She had successfully refined the Skyfire Divine Sword's inscription scroll. How was this possible? Could it be that this fellow is a hidden expert? An idea flashed across Bai Qixue's mind, and she immediately shook her head and mumbled, "Impossible. I've seen all the geniuses of the Talisman Amulet sect, but there's no such person. Besides, which youth's inscription techniques can compare to those of the Talisman Amulet sect? That guy must have been lucky." He guessed right. Yes, he was lucky. Bai Qixue gritted her teeth and found an excuse for herself. Following that, she continued to make a few more, and all of them were successful. This made her a little dazed. Refining the inscription scroll. Lu Ming flew towards the treasure pavilion according to the marks on the map. Not long after, a huge building appeared before Lu Ming's eyes. It was the treasure pavilion. Inside, there was a place for Talisman sect disciples to buy and sell treasures. Moreover, the materials and treasures required to cultivate the Tao of inscription were much more than those required for martial arts. Therefore, the Talisman sect's treasure pavilion was very large and had many people. Lu Ming landed and walked toward the hall. There were many people in the hall. There were many small rooms around the hall, but there were long lines. Lu Ming could only randomly choose a place and start to queue. It was Lu Ming's turn after half an hour. What do you need? Are you buying or selling materials? Lu Ming walked into a room. There was a counter in the room. On the counter, a young and beautiful lady smiled at Lu Ming. "I want to buy some demonic beast blood essence." Lu Ming said. "Demonic beast blood essence, what level and how much do you need?" The young woman asked with a smile. There were many people who came to the Talisman sect to buy demonic beast blood essence every day. It was nothing strange. "I'll buy 50 sets of blood essence of Class 6 demonic beasts, and 50 sets of Class 7 level 6 demonic beasts." Lu Ming said after thinking for a while. 6th or 7th rank 6th level? The young woman was slightly stunned. "What's wrong? You don't have any?" Lu Ming said. "Yes. There's indeed no more blood essence of this level in stock. You'll have to wait for a while. How about this, if you need it, you can pay a deposit in advance. After a while, when you have enough blood essence, you can come back to get it. How about it?" The young woman suggested. "That's fine too. I wonder how much it's for?" Lu Ming felt helpless. This was the only way now. The blood essence of a Class 6 demonic beast is 10 lower grade raw stones for one set, and the blood essence of a Class 7 level 6 demonic beast is 30 raw stones for one set. You can keep 500 raw stones as a deposit and collect them in 7 days. What do you think?" The young woman said. Lu Ming nodded and paid 500 raw stones as a deposit. At the same time, he sighed in his heart. Demonic beast blood essence was really expensive. If he didn't have the resources left behind by the 9 Suns Supreme Master, he really wouldn't be able to afford it. The Supreme Shrine had been destroyed during the battle in 9 Dragons. However, Supreme 9 Suns had kept all the items and treasures he had left in the Supreme Shrine into a storage ring. Otherwise, Lu Ming would have suffered a great loss. "Miss, I'm buying a batch of talismans." Lu Ming pondered for a moment. Since he could not upgrade his 9 Dragons bloodline for the time being, he might as well buy a batch of talisman papers and inscribe some inscription talismans. It would definitely be useful in the War of Providence. It was said that there were many restrictions in the Battle of Providence. For example, he could only bring his own inscription scrolls and runes with him. He couldn't use the ones that others had inscribed. Otherwise, if he brought a few inscription runes inscribed by a rank 7 or rank 8 alchemist, there would be no need to compete. He would be able to sweep away all of them, and that would be meaningless. Only when one inscribed it themselves could it be considered as one's own strength and could be brought in to be used. Immediately, Lu Ming bought 1,000 talismans of different levels in one go and spent 100 raw gemstones. In comparison, talismans were much cheaper. After purchasing the talismans, Lu Ming left the treasure pavilion and returned to the Cloud Peak residence. As soon as he walked in, he saw Bai Qixue sitting there in a daze. Bai Qixue's eyes brightened when she saw Lu Ming. She sized him up, left, right, up, down, until Lu Ming was a little embarrassed. Cough cough, Miss Bai. What are you looking at? I've only left for a short while. Don't tell me you're already missing me? Lu Ming coughed a few times and laughed. Miss you? You wish. Let me ask you, how did you know that the Sky Fire Godly Sword Talisman Scroll needed to be modified like that? Bai Qixue glared at Lu Ming and snorted. You've succeeded? I thought you wouldn't follow my method. Lu Ming said with a faint smile. Humph, I just gave it a try and, luckily, succeeded. You haven't told me how you knew? Bai Qixue asked, emphasizing on the word, lucky. Lu Ming laughed in his heart. This young lady really wanted to save face. Actually, I just made a wild guess, he said with a smile. You guessed? Humph, as expected. Bai Qixue pouted and showed an expression of, I knew it. Lu Ming was dumbfounded. Bai Qixue believed him. All right, don't touch anything here. I'm going out to buy some things. Then, he ran out like a gust of wind. I'll also inscribe a batch of inscription scrolls. Lu Ming waved his hand and a piece of snow-white talisman paper was spread on the platform. Then, he waved his fingers in the air and began to inscribe inscriptions. The talisman that Lu Ming was going to inscribe was called the Fire Prison Talisman. It was a grade 8 level 6 trap talisman. To be honest, this was Lu Ming's first time inscribing a talisman scroll. However, his mind was filled with all kinds of inscription knowledge from Lian Song. At this time, as Lu Ming moved his fingers, the knowledge was slowly displayed. 10 minutes later, a fire prison rune scroll was successfully inscribed. 10 minutes? You're too slow, continue. Lu Ming frowned. He felt that it was still too slow. If this was known by others, they would be so angry that they would vomit blood. This was a grade 8 level 6 inscription scroll and it was Lu Ming's first time inscribing an inscription. It only took him 10 minutes to do so. It was already very terrifying. However, Lu Ming was still not satisfied. For the second one, he was a little faster and only used 9 minutes. As he continued to inscribe, the knowledge and experience in his mind began to combine with the actual operation. Lu Ming's inscribing speed became faster and faster. Moreover, Lu Ming did not need the help of materials to inscribe as his mental fire was extremely rich. He could replace it with mental fire. 2 hours later, Lu Ming only needed 3 minutes to inscribe a fire prison talisman scroll. This speed would scare people to death. My mastery of mental energy fire is still not high. I'm only at the peak of minute subtlety. I need to hone myself. Lu Ming pondered in his heart. His biggest advantage was that his mental energy fire was powerful. Every level was perfect and he had Lian Song's cultivation experience. Therefore, his speed of inscribing was terrifying. However, he was also clear that 3 minutes was his limit. If he wanted to break through, he had to make a breakthrough in the use of mental energy fire and the speed of inscribing. In fact, he had not been practicing inscriptions for a long time. It was already a terrifying thing for him to be able to reach the peak of the refinement realm in the use of mental fire. One must know that Bai Qixue was extremely talented. After more than 10 years of cultivation, she was only at the late stage of the refinement realm. Even Dandan had been amazed by Lu Ming's talent in refining. However, Lu Ming was not satisfied. What he needed to do was not something that others could compare to. Therefore, he had to do better than others. Next, he continued to inscribe runes. This time, he inscribed the 6 Extremes 9-tier Talisman Scroll, the 9 Extreme Sword Formation Talisman Scroll, A 9th level 6th level talisman scroll's attack power was already equivalent to a 9th level spiritual ocean realm martial artist's attack power, and it was extremely difficult to refine. You're a pervert. Lu Ming focused his attention and waved his fingers continuously. Inscriptions flew into the talisman paper one after another. Grade 9 lever 6 talismans were 10 times more complicated than grade 8 lever 6 talismans, so they needed more time. This time, Lu Ming spent a full 1.5 hours before he was successful. The moment the inscription was successful, Lu Ming could clearly feel that in the dark, traces of inscription power descended from the inscription law and integrated into Lu Ming's mental fire, strengthening it. After refining a 9th grade 6th level, the power of inscription from the law of inscription is more than 10 times stronger than that of a 8th grade 6th level. Lu Ming's lips curled into a smile and he continued to refine. As Lu Ming continued to refine, his inscribing speed became faster and faster. Just as Lu Ming was concentrating on inscribing the inscription talisman scroll, Bai Qixue had returned to the Cloud Peak residence. This guy is inscribing talismans? Humph, what kind of high-level talisman scroll can this guy inscribe? That's not right. This is a 6 Extremes 9-layer talisman scroll, a level 9 sword formation talisman. At first, Bai Qixue was quite disdainful and just took a few glances at him. However, after a few glances, she could no longer look away and fixed her eyes on Lu Ming. She saw Lu Ming's fingers waving in the air and his mouth opened so wide that a duck egg could be swallowed. She could tell that Lu Ming was actually inscribing a level 6 9th grade inscription talisman. A 9th grade, 6th level inscription talisman scroll was already a top-tier, 6th level inscription talisman scroll. Lu Ming's inscription Dao had actually reached such a level. She had only succeeded in inscribing a 7th grade 6th level inscription scroll for the first time under Lu Ming's guidance. Bai Qixue was stunned. The more she looked, the more shocked she was. His usage of mental fire is at the peak of the refinement realm. Also, how is his mental power so powerful and terrifying that he doesn't use any materials? Wait, how is his technique so exquisite and how is his inscribing speed so fast? Bai Qixue was in a daze. She kept mumbling, and the surprise and disbelief in her eyes were getting stronger. Night had fallen but Lu Ming did not seem to be tired. After he finished carving one, he immediately carved the next one. His speed became faster and faster. Later on, he only needed half an hour to carve a grade 9 level 6 talisman scroll. In one breath, Lu Ming inscribed 15 pieces before he stopped and heaved a long sigh. At this moment, he felt that his spiritual power was a little lacking, and his spiritual fire was a little dim. He needed to rest and recover. Miss Bai, you've returned? Lu Ming finally noticed Bai Qixue. Change. Abnormal. Bai Qixue looked at Lu Ming in a daze and blurted out a few words. You met a pervert? Where is he? Lu Ming's eyes darted around. You're a pervert. Bai Qixue mumbled. Me. Lu Ming was speechless. Who the hell are you? The Tao of inscription is so powerful? Bai Qixue's eyes were wide open, her eyes scanning Lu Ming from head to toe. I'm Tian Yun. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. Could it be that this insensitive lady had seen through him? I know all the paragons of the talisman amulet sect. How come I've never seen you before? Don't tell me? Bai Qixue walked around Lu Ming and looked at him carefully. Could it be that you're a heaven's favorite that Master secretly nurtured? Or are you Master's illegitimate son? Yes, that must be it. No wonder he asked you to live in Yun Peak House. The more Bai Qixue talked, the more excited she became. Her eyes were shining as if she had discovered a big secret. Lu Ming's forehead was full of black lines. This lady's imagination was too rich, right? Miss Bai, I'm neither secretly trained by your master, nor am I his illegitimate son. I've only just arrived at the talisman amulet sect. Lu Ming explained helplessly. You're not? That's impossible. Bai Qixue touched her chin and blinked her big eyes. Then she rolled her eyes. No one knew what she was thinking. After a while, Bai Qixue's face revealed an inexplicable smile, which made Lu Ming's heart tighten. He did not know what this lady was up to. Tianyun, I've suddenly realized that you're not bad. How about this? I won't object to you living in Yun Peak residence from now on, but I have a condition. You have to teach me the Tao of inscription. I've realized that some of your techniques are even more exquisite than my master's. It's decided. You can rest for today, and you'll start teaching me tomorrow. Bai Qixue said with a smile and then ran back to her room. Lu Ming was left alone in a daze. I haven't agreed to it yet. Just like that, as a condition for living in the Cloud Peak House, Lu Ming took 2 hours out every day to guide Bai Qixue in her cultivation of the inscription Tao. Lu Ming's Tao of inscription was passed down from Lian Cong. He was very experienced and sharp. He could always point out Bai Qixue's flaws and key points. In just 2 days, Bai Qixue's understanding of the Tao of inscription had deepened. At the same time, Lu Ming became more and more mysterious in her heart. Tianyun, I'll bring you out for a walk today. You haven't had a good look around since you came to the Talisman Amulet sect, right? There are many good places in the Talisman Amulet sect. On the morning of the 3rd day, Bai Qixue pulled Lu Ming and ran out. Lu Ming was also very curious and he followed Bai Qixue. Along the way, he saw many strange places. Some of them had beautiful scenery, while others were mysterious. It was an eye-opener for Lu Ming. In front of them, a mountain peak appeared. At the foot of the mountain, there was a huge cave and people were coming in and out. That's the Myriad Formations Cave. There are countless formations in the cave, all of which were inscribed by the experts of the Talisman sect in the past. Some of them are incomplete, while others are complete, for future generations to comprehend. Come, let's go and take a look. Bai Qixue explained. Then, the two of them landed at the entrance of the cave. There were guards at the entrance of the cave. However, Bai Qixue's identity was not ordinary. She was the little disciple of the Talisman sect master, Bai Shijin. Naturally, she was able to enter without any obstacles. As soon as he entered the cave, Lu Ming could feel a complicated aura permeating the air. Lu Ming swept his gaze across the cave and discovered that there were array diagrams inscribed on the walls on both sides of the cave. There were all sorts of formation diagrams, each emitting a different aura. At a glance, the cave was extremely deep and extended into the distance. On both sides of the cave, there were countless array diagrams. Lu Ming began to read it carefully. He recognized some of the formations, but he didn't recognize most of them. Moreover, there was a detailed explanation under each formation diagram. There were even some incomplete formations that were extremely profound and left for future generations to comprehend and crack. Below were some of the insights gained from comprehending them. Good place, this is really a good place. Lu Ming looked at more than 10 array diagrams and felt that he had gained a lot. This 10,000 formations cave was simply an endless wealth left behind by the ancestors of the Talisman sect. Lu Ming walked forward as he watched. Suddenly, he found a fork in the path beside the cave. He walked in, and there was only one array diagram in the fork. Buzz! When he saw this formation diagram, the heavens and earth seemed to be shaking. He realized that the surroundings had changed. He was in a boundless void. In the void, there were 8 beams of sword qi. The sword qi was incomparably huge, like pillars that held up the sky. They descended from the sky, suppressing in all directions and destroying everything. The extremely powerful sword qi slashed at Lu Ming. It was terrifyingly powerful, just like when he faced Martial Emperor De in 9 Dragons. Not good. Lu Ming was shocked. He used all his strength to resist, but it was useless. The powerful sword qi destroyed everything and slashed down on his head. Chapter 864 Looking for a Beating. Bang! Bang! The next moment, the surroundings changed. He was still in the fork. His figure retreated and hit the wall behind him. His back was drenched in cold sweat and he panted heavily. What a powerful formation! Lu Ming was shocked. He did not dare to look at the array diagram. Tianyun, are you all right? Why did you go and look at that diagram array? It was carved by a supreme martial artist after imitating a rank 9 diagram array. Only a rank 8 alchemist can look at it. At the fork in the road, Bai Qixue looked at Lu Ming with worry. Why isn't there any hint from the grade 9 diagram? Lu Ming was depressed. With his current cultivation, he would be looking for trouble if he looked at the level 9 diagram array. It was already good that he wasn't injured. Isn't it written here? Bai Qixue pointed at a jade plate on the side of the road, which said, "Only level 8 alchemists are allowed." Lu Ming smiled bitterly. He was too focused just now and did not notice it. This is really a good place. If I have time later, I can come here and properly comprehend it. Lu Ming walked out of the fork and smiled. The two of them walked around for a while and then left, planning to go to other places. However, just as he walked out of the Myriad Formations cave, he was blocked by a few people. The leader of the three youths was a youth with an aquiline nose. His eyes flashed with a sharp light from time to time. "Xiaofan, what are you doing? Make way for me." Seeing this young man, Bai Qixue's face darkened and she shouted. "Bai Qixue, what are you shouting for? What right do you have to berate me? Humph, you're really a bitch. To think that my big brother is still pursuing you, but you're hiding a wild man in Yun Peak House." Xiaofan sneered and looked at Lu Ming. In the past few days, the news of a young man moving into Yun Peak had spread and caused a huge commotion among the younger generation of disciples. Bai Qixue was the youngest disciple of the talisman sect's master, Bai Shijin. She had a noble status and was a beauty. In the talisman sect, there were many geniuses and prides who pursued her, but none of them could catch her eye. Even those on the list of top 1,000 talents were not worthy of her attention. But now, a young man was living in the Cloud Peak House, which was regarded as a holy land in the eyes of many male disciples. How could this not be shocking? Countless people were eager to find trouble with Lu Ming. Xiaofan did not expect to meet Bai Qixue here and stopped the two of them. "Xiaofan, what did you just say?" Bai Qixue's face turned red with anger and she glared at Xiaofan. "Am I wrong?" Xiaofan snorted coldly. He then looked at Lu Ming and said, "Brat, are you the one who lives in Yun Peak House?" "Not bad." Lu Ming frowned slightly. "Kid, I advise you to get out of Cloud Peak House as soon as possible. Otherwise, you might have your legs broken one day." Xiaofan sneered, a hint of jealousy flashing through his eyes. This kid, who knows where he came from, but he can actually live in Cloud Peak House. Cloud Peak House not only had the eyes of inscription, but it was also a holy place for cultivating the spiritual fire. At the same time, a beauty like Bai Qixue lived there. How could people not be jealous? "I advise you to watch your mouth. Otherwise, you might be slapped in the face one day." Lu Ming smiled faintly and replied. At the side, Bai Qixue burst into laughter. Lu Ming was using Su Shan's words to hit back at him. These words made Su Shan's face turn gloomy, and a sharp light flashed in his eyes. "Kid, I don't know when I'll be slapped until my face is swollen, but today, you'll have your legs broken," Su Shan said coldly. With a wave of his hand, a huge black bear appeared on the ground. This wasn't a real black bear, but a puppet. No wonder Su Shan is looking for trouble with that man. This is going to be a good show. I don't know where that young man came from. He's actually able to stay in Cloud Peak residence. He's going to be abused sooner or later. It must be by Qixue's request. Otherwise, ordinary people wouldn't be able to live there. This young man doesn't know his place. If I were him, I would move out even if I had the chance. I don't know how many people I would offend if I did that. In the surroundings, some people were discussing in low voices. "Xiaofan, what are you doing? If you want to fight, I'll accompany you." Bai Qixue took a step forward and stood in front of Lu Ming, glaring at Su Shan. "Bai Qixue, it seems that this man is really your little lover. You are so protective of him." Xiaofan sneered. "Nonsense." Bai Qixue blushed and said, "I am just friends with Tianyun." "Friend? Hee hee." Su Shan sneered, looked at Lu Ming and shouted, "Brat, what kind of man are you to hide behind a woman? Fight me if you have the guts." Roar. The black bear puppet roared, exuding a violent aura. "Since you're asking for it, I'll fulfill your wish." Lu Ming smiled and stepped forward, passing by Qixue. "Brat, I'll break your legs." Su Shan's face revealed a malevolent expression, and the space between his brows lit up. The black bear puppet roared in anger and stomped on the ground. With a loud boom, it pounced towards Lu Ming. Lu Ming swung his palm. Boom! The palm landed on the black bear puppet's body and sent it flying 1,000 meters away. It crashed heavily on the ground and became a pile of scrap metal. The entire place fell silent. A puppet equivalent to the 6th level of the spiritual ocean tier, made entirely of metal and impervious to swords and spears, was now turned into scrap metal by Lu Ming with a single slap. It was shocking. Martial arts, how is your martial arts so strong? Xiaofan reacted and shouted angrily. The talisman amulet sect mainly cultivated the Tao of inscription. They also cultivated the Tao of martial arts, but they were only auxiliary and did not have too deep of a realm. It was rare to see Lu Ming's martial arts so powerful in the talisman amulet sect. Of course, there were also some geniuses in the talisman amulet sect who were born to cultivate martial arts. However, they were very rare. In fact, they would be looked down upon by others if they cultivated martial arts. You're looking for a beating. Lu Ming strode forward. What kind of skill is it to use martial arts to destroy one of my puppets? If you have the ability, fight me with the Tao of inscription. Xiaofan roared angrily and retreated continuously. With a wave of his hand, 3 puppets appeared on the ground, all at the 6th level of the spiritual ocean tier. Using the Tao of inscription, that's fine. Lu Ming moved his hand and an inscription scroll appeared. He opened it and injected his mental energy fire. The inscription scroll glowed and 9 combat swords floated out. Arg, Lever 6 Lever 9 inscription rune scroll, 9 extreme sword formation rune, you're cheating, you're cheating. Xiaofan shouted. Whoosh, whoosh. The 9 combat swords danced in the air, cutting the 3 puppets into pieces. Lu Ming took a step forward and appeared beside Xiaofan. He slapped him. Chapter 865 Spreading News. The crisp sound of a slap could be heard from outside the Thousand Formations cave. Then, Xiaofan's miserable cries for his parents rang out. Pa! Following that, Lu Ming turned his hand and gave Xiaofan another slap, sending him flying. He fell heavily on the ground. Both sides of his face were swollen, and it was beyond recognition. The onlookers were stunned, including Bai Qixue. A battle between inscription masters was not as violent as a battle between warriors. It was rare for someone to go on stage and slap someone. This was the first time they had seen such a scene. You dare to hit young Master Su? You're finished, you're finished. A young man who came with Xiaofan pointed at Lu Ming and shouted. Lu Ming waved his hand and another 9 extreme sword formation talisman scroll appeared. He stared at the 2 young men and said, "What's wrong? Do you guys want to try? You're despicable, you're shameless, you didn't use your own inscription scrolls, what kind of skill is that?" A young man shouted. When he saw the inscription scroll in Lu Ming's hand, he retreated. Lian Song's face turned pale. They did not expect that Lu Ming had such a high-level inscription scroll. They also did not expect that Lu Ming would be so shameless to use such an inscription scroll. They felt that such a high-level inscription scroll must have been bought by Lu Ming. It was impossible for him to refine it himself. There was an unspoken rule between inscription masters. In a fair duel between 2 inscription masters, they could not use the inscription scrolls refined by others. If that happened, it would not be a contest of strength, but a contest of wealth. He would only use it in a life-and-death battle. Moreover, it wasn't easy to activate a high-grade inscription scroll. Who said I didn't make it myself? Lu Ming pursed his lips. He had clearly refined it himself. You're shameless, let's go. A young man left these words and helped the still dizzy Xiaofan up, then hurriedly left. The surrounding onlookers shook their heads and looked at Lu Ming with some disdain. They also did not believe that Lu Ming, this kid who came out of nowhere, could refine a grade 9 level 6 inscription scroll by himself. The young men who could create inscriptions of level 6 and level 9 were all top 300 on the list of top 1,000 talents. They were all divine level talents, on par with martial arts talents who had awakened divine bloodlines. How could this unknown brat be a god-tier prodigy? Moreover, Lu Ming's martial arts were clearly not weak. To be able to turn a 6th level spiritual ocean tier puppet into a pile of scrap metal with a single slap. He clearly had very high attainments in martial arts. Since his martial arts were so profound, it was impossible for him to be that strong in the Tao of inscription. They would never believe that Lu Ming was so strong in both. Let's go. Lu Ming could not be bothered with the gazes of the people around him. He called out to Bai Qixue and flew forward. Bai Qixue blinked her big eyes and followed him. Tianyun, your martial cultivation is so powerful that you can destroy a class 6 level 6 puppet with a single slap. What level are you at? Could it be that you're a dual cultivator of inscription and martial arts? Along the way, Bai Qixue was so curious that she asked a few questions. Lu Ming smiled bitterly. He covered his head and hurried on with his journey. He was too lazy to answer. Tianyun, Su Shan's brother, is a God-grade heaven's favorite, ranked 299th on the list of top 1,000 talents. You've beaten up Su Shan this time, so his brother, Su Ri, might come looking for trouble with you. You have to be careful. Bai Qixue reminded him. Oh really? Lu Ming nodded casually. After that, the two of them did not go anywhere else but returned to Yun Peak House. In the blink of an eye, another 3 days passed. Lu Ming was inscribing inscriptions in the courtyard. After a few days of inscription cultivation, Lu Ming's speed of inscribing inscriptions had become even faster. He only needed 20 minutes to inscribe a 9 extreme sword array talisman scroll. This speed was already extremely shocking. If this news were to spread, it would definitely scare a group of people to death. On the side, Bai Qixue opened her eyes wide and stared at it without blinking, trying to absorb the parts that she needed. Not long after, Lu Ming inscribed another inscription talisman scroll. Tianyun, based on your inscribing speed, and with a 100% success rate, even if you don't do anything else, you'll still make a fortune just by selling inscription scrolls. Bai Qixue's eyes were shining. How could other people inscribe inscription scrolls so quickly? Furthermore, they would fail and waste materials. Unlike Lu Ming, he did not want any materials. His materials were only talisman paper. The success rate was 100%. It would be strange if he did not make a fortune. Lu Ming nodded his head. This was a good way to earn money. In the future, when he was short of raw gemstones, he could consider refining inscription scrolls to sell. The two of them chatted. From time to time, Lu Ming would guide Bai Qixue in her refining. Hundreds of thousands of miles away from Yun Peak House, there was another mountain peak with a courtyard on it. This courtyard was the courtyard of the God-grade heaven's favorite, Rising Sun. In the courtyard, Su Shan was crying in front of the rising sun. Big brother, you've finally come out of seclusion. You have to avenge me. That Tianyun is simply lawless and extremely arrogant. Su Shan shouted. You're saying that the kid called Tianyun lives in Yun Peak House? You're courting death. Su Ri said coldly, his eyes filled with killing intent and intense jealousy. That's right, big brother. I'm fighting for you, that's why I'm looking for that kid, Tianyun, to get him out of Cloud Peak residence. I didn't expect him to use a Class 9 Level 6 inscription scroll to plot against me. Big brother, you have to avenge me. Su Shan cried out pitifully and miserably. Don't worry. I'll break his legs and kick him out of Cloud Peak House since he dares to stay in Cloud Peak House. The rising sun said. Clang. At this moment, a melodious bell rang. The sound of the bell came from the center of the talisman amulet sect. It seemed to be able to cross endless space and spread throughout the entire Mount Liangyi. This is a Hao bell. When it rings, it means that the sect has something important to report. Su Shan and Su Ri's expressions changed. Then, they each took out a voice transmission jade talisman. When the bugle bell rang, the major news that the sect wanted to report would be transmitted to the jade talismans of each disciple. When the two of them saw the contents of the jade talismans, their expressions changed drastically. How is that possible? How is that possible? How could that Tianyun be a Zongzi candidate? Su Shan screamed in disbelief. The contents of their jade voice transmission talismans were the news that the higher-ups of the talisman amulet sect had promoted Tianyun to a Zongzi candidate. Tianyun, the Tianyun who moved into Cloud Peak residence. Sunrise's eyes were also wide open, filled with disbelief. That's right, it's him. How is that possible? How is this possible? Su Shan was still in disbelief. It was extremely difficult to become a Zongzi candidate. One had to obtain the approval of more than 60% of the elders in both the Talisman sect and the Puppet sect before one could ascend to the throne of a Zongzi candidate. In the future, one would have the hope of competing for the position of Zongzi, and eventually take charge of the Talisman Amulet sect. In the Talisman Amulet sect, there were a total of 13 Zongzi candidates. Each of them was a terrifying existence in the top 100 on the list of top 1,000 talents with unparalleled talent. Chapter 866 All parties are shaken. Damn it, who is this Tianyun? How is he qualified to be a Zongzi candidate? Damn it! The rising sun shouted. Becoming a Zongzi candidate had been Sunrise's dream. He had been working hard for it, but now, it had been taken over by a stranger. He was so jealous that he wanted to go crazy. At this moment, the entire Talisman Amulet sect was in a state of confusion. Who was Tianyun? Where did he come from? What qualifications did he have to ascend to the throne of a Zongzi candidate? The eyes of the chosen gleamed with a sharp light. This was especially true for the top 300 God-grade talents on the list of top 1,000 talents. People of their level were all competing for the Zongzi position. How could they be convinced that a young man from the Mo Shang sect would be the one to take it? I'd like to see how capable this Tianyun is to become a Zongzi candidate. Go, find out more about this person called Tianyun. Everyone in the Yin and Yang mountain was shocked by the name, Tianyun. In the Cloud Peak house, Bai Qixue looked at the voice transmission jade talisman in her hand in a daze. Then, she glared at Lu Ming for a long time before she said, "You still said that you're not Master's illegitimate son. Now, you're a Zongzi candidate." Lu Ming's forehead was full of black lines. What was this? It can't be that everyone has been notified, right? Lu Ming asked. Almost all the Talisman sect disciples in Mount Liangyi have received the news. Bai Qixue said. Lu Ming smiled bitterly and touched his nose. Was there a need to make such a big scene? Lu Ming knew that there would be a lot of trouble. These guys are just looking for trouble. Lu Ming sighed in his heart. He understood that Bai Shijin, Du Songjue, and the others had done this on purpose. It was equivalent to giving him an indirect challenge. He was a stranger who had suddenly appeared and was appointed as a Zongzi candidate. How could those geniuses accept this? They would definitely find trouble with him. This was the test. Forget it, I'll deal with it as it comes. At most, I'll just go into seclusion and not come out. Lu Ming had a headache. He wasn't afraid of those people, but he was afraid of trouble. Hey, you still haven't answered me. Are you really Master's illegitimate child? Bai Qixue opened her eyes wide and kept asking. She was very curious. Lu Ming was speechless. Can you stop making wild guesses? I didn't cultivate in the Talisman Amulet sect in the past. Not cultivating in the Talisman Amulet sect? Then where do you cultivate? The territory of the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace? Bai Qixue asked curiously. Almost. Lu Ming said casually. Really? You're really cultivating in the territory of the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace? Do you know Lu Ming? Bai Qixue became excited and asked a few questions. I don't know him. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat and he quickly denied it. You don't know Lu Ming? Humph. You're really ignorant. You don't even know Lu Ming. In the Battle of 9 Dragons, Lu Ming pulled out the divine 9-dragon cauldron and fought against 3 Supreme Masters. It is said that one of the Supreme Masters was almost killed by him. Even Martial Emperor De took action. How can you not know such a person? He's my idol now. Bai Qixue looked at Lu Ming in disdain and then looked at the sky with a starry-eyed expression. This. Lu Ming was a little confused. A hero like Lu Ming is the true unparalleled prodigy in my heart. He's comparable to the top 10 on the list of top 1,000 talents. Sunrise and the others are far behind him. Tianyun, you're not bad, but you're still far behind Lu Ming. Keep working hard. Bai Qixue patted Lu Ming's shoulder, giving him a look that said, You have to work hard. This. I'll try harder, try harder. Lu Ming's face was covered in cold sweat. At this moment, an elder of the Talisman Amulet sect arrived and Lu Ming heaved a sigh of relief. This old man was here to give Lu Ming the token that represented the Zongzi candidate. With this token, Lu Ming could enter most of the places in the Talisman Amulet sect at will, except for some important forbidden areas. For the next 2 days, Mount Liangyi was bustling with activity. Everyone was talking about the same name Tianyun. Devouring the blood essence again. In the treasure pavilion, an expert came out to warn him. Sunrise's expression changed and he quickly retracted his mind power. Tianyun, if you have the ability, then go to the battle inscription platform and have a fair battle with me in the art of inscription. The rising sun stared at Lu Ming. The battle inscription platform was the place where the Talisman sect disciples competed in the battle inscription Dao. I'm not interested. Lu Ming left with these words and strode away. During this period of time, the Nine Dragons bloodline had been somewhat dispirited. Lu Ming was worried that there would be any after effects and had long wanted to try devouring the blood essence. Now that he had obtained the demonic beast blood essence with great difficulty, he could not wait to go back and try it out. He was not in the mood to go to the battle inscription platform to compete. If it was something he could easily settle here, he wouldn't mind. Lu Ming left the treasure pavilion and flew straight to Yun Feng residence. Humph, he's just a coward. What right does he have to become a Zongzi candidate? Sunrise snorted coldly as he watched Lu Ming leave. Who knows what methods Tianyun used to become a Zongzi candidate? He's clearly afraid of you, big brother, and doesn't dare to fight you. He'll give himself away if he does. Xiaofan sneered. In the hall of the treasure pavilion, the others shook their heads as well. They thought that Lu Ming would not dare to compete with the rising sun. This rumor had also spread throughout the entire Mount Liangyi. After Lu Ming returned to the Cloud Peak residence, he went straight to his room and sat cross-legged. A jade bottle appeared in his hand. There were 9 drops of pearl-like demonic beast blood essence. It was the blood essence of a Class 6 Level 6 demonic beast. With a thought, the bloodline of the 9 dragons emerged. 9 Esilavirar chakra appeared around the 9 dragon bloodline. However, the light was dim, and the 9 dragon bloodline seemed to be a little dispirited. Lu Ming controlled his 9 dragon bloodline, opened his mouth, and swallowed the 9 drops of demonic beast blood essence. He then began to refine them. Slowly, the power of the demonic beast's blood essence was absorbed by the 9 dragon bloodlines. The 9 Esilavirar chakra slowly became brighter. 2 hours later, the first portion of blood essence was refined. Lu Ming took out another portion of 6th grade 6th level demonic beast blood essence and continued refining. In the blink of an eye, a day had passed. Lu Ming had refined more than 10 portions of the demonic beast's blood essence. Finally, the 9 dragons' bloodline regained its vitality. The 9 Esilavirar chakra glowed brightly, and the speed of refining the blood essence had increased by a notch. Lu Ming continued to refine. In the blink of an eye, 3 days had passed. In 4 days, Lu Ming had refined all 50 portions of 6th grade 6th level demonic beast blood essence. However, his 9 dragon bloodline had not advanced to the divine level. What's going on? I haven't been able to level up even after devouring 50 portions of 6th grade demonic beast blood essence, and I've already reached the divine level before. Now the amount of blood essence I've devoured has already exceeded the last time, so why haven't I advanced? Lu Ming furrowed his eyebrows. He was a little worried. Would the self-destruction of the chakra stop him from upgrading his 9 dragon bloodline? That would be a huge loss. Impossible, it must be because I haven't devoured enough blood essence. Continue devouring. Lu Ming gritted his teeth and took out a portion of 7th grade 6th level demonic beast blood essence, continuing to devour and refine it. The blood essence of a Class 7 Level 6 demonic beast was 4 to 5 times thicker than that of a Class 6 Level 6 demonic beast. Lu Ming continued to devour the blood essence. Lu Ming was so focused on refining the blood essence that he was unaware of the outside world. In the past few days, Tianyun's name had been spreading like wildfire in Liangyi Mountain. On the 2nd day of Lu Ming's closed-door cultivation, other top 300 talents on the list of top 1,000 talents challenged Lu Ming, but he did not accept the challenge. Then, the rumors about Lu Ming not daring to accept the challenge and his low ability became more and more intense. Later on, There were even geniuses who came to Yun Peak House and wanted to challenge Lu Ming. However, Bai Qixue used the excuse that Lu Ming was in closed-door cultivation and activated the formation of Yun Peak House, turning him away. In this way, the voices of cowardice and incompetence about Lu Ming avoiding the battle became stronger. Some people even suggested to the elders to abolish Lu Ming's Zongzi position and make him move out of Yun Peak House. However, they were rejected immediately. This made many geniuses grit their teeth. They were waiting for Lu Ming to appear and defeat him in public. That way, they would see if he still had the face to continue being a Zongzi candidate. Time passed day by day. In the blink of an eye, Lu Ming had been in closed-door cultivation for 7 days. Lu Ming refined 10 more portions of 7th grade 6th level blood essence. At this moment, Lu Ming finally felt that his 9-dragon bloodline was about to level up. This time, the amount of blood essence consumed is several times more than the last time. Is this the side effect? But as long as I can advance, it's worth it. No matter how much blood essence I consume, it's worth it. Lu Ming revealed a smile on his face. However, it will cause a huge commotion if I want to level up to a divine bloodline. I must find a secret place and ask Bai Qixue if there are any secret places. At the thought of this, Lu Ming went out of the room and saw Bai Qixue in a daze, frowning. "Qixue, why are you in a daze?" Lu Ming walked around and smiled. "It's all because of you. During this period of time, everyone came to challenge you, but you hid away to cultivate. I got rid of all of them." Bai Qixue glared at Lu Ming and pouted. "Challenge me? I knew it." Lu Ming smiled faintly. He already knew that many people would challenge him. It would be strange if he didn't. "What are your plans? Are we going to go out and fight them?" Bai Qixue said. "I'm not free right now. I'm going into closed-door cultivation for a while. When I come out, I'll pack up." Lu Ming said with a smile. "Clean them up together? You're very confident. There are Heaven's Pride experts who are close to the top 100 in this list. Although the Talisman sect is not as powerful as the Empyrean Heavenly Divine Palace and the Heavenly Corpse sect, there are still more than 30 people who are ranked between the 100th and 300th on the list of top 1,000 talents. These are all your enemies. Can you handle them?" Bai Qixue obviously did not believe him. "It's fine." Lu Ming smiled. "Is there a quiet place here where no one will disturb you? A place where you can cultivate in seclusion without causing a big impact?" "Yes, the Wind Marshal Cave. It's not very useful for the cultivation of the Tao of Inscription, so few people go there. Moreover, it's full of caves. You can just pick one and no one will know no matter how big a commotion you cause." Bai Qixue said. "All right, the Wind Marshal Cave it is. I'll go and cultivate in seclusion for a while." Jiang Chen said. With that, Lu Ming left the Cloud Peak residence. Following the map, he turned into a rainbow and headed towards the Wind Marshal Cave. The Wind Marshal Cave was hundreds of thousands of miles away. With Lu Ming's speed, he arrived very quickly. The Wind Marshal Cave was filled with strange rocks. There were huge stone mountains over 10,000 meters high everywhere. There were huge caves on the mountains, and strong wind blew out from them. Lu Ming rushed in, randomly chose a cave, and flew in. Although Lu Ming was fast, the fact that he had entered the Wind Marshal Cave was still discovered by others. Immediately, the news spread throughout the Liangyi Mountain. "We've finally left Yun Peak House." 9-dragon form. However, after these people arrived at the Wind Marshal Cave, they all stopped outside the Wind Marshal Cave. The Wind Marshal Cave was extremely vast and had thousands of caves. No one knew which cave Lu Ming had entered. They could only wait outside. After Lu Ming entered a cave, he kept going deeper. Such dense spiritual qi of heaven and earth. As Lu Ming ran forward, a look of surprise flashed in his eyes. In the cave, the spiritual qi of heaven and earth was extremely rich. However, the Talisman Amulet sect mainly cultivated the Tao of Inscription, so the spiritual qi of heaven and earth was not very useful. Therefore, very few people came to the Wind Marshal Cave. After Lu Ming had traveled tens of thousands of meters, he came to an underground cave. Then, he waved his hands and runes were inserted into the surroundings, setting up a large array. The main purpose of this formation was to isolate sound, in case the breakthrough would cause too much of a commotion. After inscribing the formation, Lu Ming sat down cross-legged. Let's upgrade the bloodline of the 9 dragons in one fell swoop. Lu Ming waved his hand. This time, he took out 10 portions of 7th grade 6th level demonic beast blood essence. The 9 dragon bloodlines opened their mouths and roared, devouring the 10 portions of blood essence and refining them. The rich power of the blood essence gushed into the 9 dragon bloodlines continuously. A day later, the bloodline of the 9 Yang roared into the sky. The dragon roars were continuous, and the surroundings were covered in light, isolating the sound in the cave. Roar! Dragon roars were heard as the body of the 9 dragon bloodline continued to grow. Originally, the 9 dragon bloodline had turned back into the appearance of a flood dragon with only 4 dragon claws on its abdomen. But now, the 5th dragon claw had extended. He transformed into a true dragon. But it wasn't over yet. After the 5th dragon claw extended, the 6th dragon claw followed. Lu Ming's eyes widened in shock. The advancement this time seemed to be different from the previous time. After the 6th dragon claw extended, the dragon roar became even louder, and the aura of the 9 dragon bloodline became even stronger. Roar! With a loud roar, the 7th dragon claw reached out again, then the 8th and the 9th. A total of 9 dragon claws. 9 dragons. Lu Ming's bloodline had completely transformed into the legendary 9 dragons. The 9-clawed true dragon was called the 9 dragons. It was a mutated existence among the true dragons. It was extremely powerful, far more powerful than ordinary true dragons. It was a unique existence in the world and also one of the top 10 war beasts mentioned by Dandan. After the 9 dragon bloodline exploded its chakra, it advanced once again and directly evo-levered into the form of 9 dragons. This was the complete bloodline of the 9 dragons. After a moment of shock, Lu Ming was overjoyed. The 9 dragons roared and the 9 Si Lavirer chakras merged into one, turning into a golden chakra. The powerful dragon power spread out and shocked the world. However, the Yin and Yang mountain was protected by a powerful formation. The auras of the 9 dragons were completely isolated. No one outside the mountain could feel them. The devouring power is several times stronger than when I was in my true dragon form. Lu Ming sensed it and was overjoyed. He realized that the devouring power of the 9 dragons was several times stronger than the true dragon form. This time, it was really a blessing in disguise. After the 9 dragon bloodline exploded its meridian cycle and advanced again, it actually awakened the perfect form of 9 dragons. Collect! With a thought, Lu Ming put away the 9 dragon bloodline. He realized that there was also a dragon energy condensed at his spine. I wonder what's the difference between this dragon power and the previous dragon power? Lu Ming pondered for a while. Then, he had an idea and his dragon power burst out. A layer of purple gold scale armor emerged on Lu Ming's skin like a suit of armor. It looked extremely demonic. What powerful strength! Lu Ming's eyes were filled with shock. He felt that his body was filled with energy. Boom! With a punch, the space quickly condensed into a ball and turned into a terrifying energy, blasting forward. Not good! Lu Ming's expression changed. He activated the 9 dragons' heaven-stomping steps and appeared in front of the ball of energy in an instant. He threw a punch and blocked it. Boom! With a loud bang, Lu Ming's body shook violently and he was forced to take 8 steps back. So strong. He's too strong. Lu Ming was a little shocked. He couldn't experiment to his heart's content here. Otherwise, the entire mountain would explode. However, Lu Ming could still feel the immense power. This dragon energy was definitely stronger than his previous dragon energy. It was at least a few times stronger. When the dragon energy burst out, Lu Ming's attack and defense would be greatly improved. The dragon power in the past was the power of a real dragon, but the current dragon power could be said to be the power of 9 dragons. It was normal for it to be stronger. Martial Emperor DE, I bet you didn't expect that my self-destruction of my meridian cycles would help me in the end. It allowed me to exert the power of the 9 dragon bloodline to the extreme. Lu Ming's eyes were bright and there was a smile on his lips. However, I'll probably need even more blood essence to transform into the 9 dragons. I still have 30 portions of Tier 7 6th level blood essence left. I'll upgrade the prison-suppressing steel bloodline first. After I upgrade the prison-suppressing steel bloodline to the 3rd level of the divine level, I'll then upgrade the 9 dragons bloodline. At the thought of this, Lu Ming continued to take out the blood essence and began to devour it. With the advancement of the 9 dragon bloodline, the devouring and refining power had reached a terrifying level, and the speed of refining demonic beast blood essence had become even faster. In just a few hours, 30 portions of blood essence of Class 7 Level 6 had been refined. Buzz! The bloodline of the prison-suppressing steel shook and shone brightly. 2 golden chakras glittered. Suddenly, a golden chakra emerged above the 2 golden chakra. 3 golden chakra, divine level rank 3 bloodline. When the prison-suppressing steel's bloodline advanced to the 3rd level of the divine level, the power of the prison-suppressing heavenly technique would also increase, and it would reach the highest level of an upper-grade demigod martial technique. If I use my full power now and combine it with my dragon power, how powerful will my attack be? Lu Ming was filled with anticipation. The prison-suppressing steel's bloodline was suspended in the air. Lu Ming stepped on the ground and his entire person became one with the earth. What is this feeling? Lu Ming's heart trembled. He quickly closed his eyes and began to comprehend. Just now, when the prison-suppressing steel's bloodline was advancing, he was connected to the earth and suddenly felt something. This was a kind of inspiration. Some people also called it a kind of enlightenment. It required a chance coincidence to capture this feeling and enter a wonderful state. This kind of opportunity was hard to come by. Lu Ming closed his eyes and seemed to sink into the depths of the earth, becoming one with it. He was the earth and the earth was him. The earth was thick, vast, ancient, and eternal. The earth was silent and unending. It contained all living things, moved, suppressed everything, and buried the heaven and earth. It was an extremely powerful intent realm of the heaven and earth. Just like that, Lu Ming immersed himself in the comprehension of the earth essence realm. Time passed slowly. 1 day, 2 days. In the blink of an eye, 5 days had passed. Lu Ming was immersed in his comprehension. It had already been 5 days. His comprehension of the earth concept had improved by leaps and bounds. Not only did he break through to level 2 upper tier, but he was also approaching level 2 completion. 5 days' time was equivalent to several months of hard work. At this moment, the area outside the Wind Marshal Cave was already packed with people. Many paragons had rushed here to wait for Lu Ming to come out. There were even more people who came to watch the show. Humph. I'll wait here and see how long Lu Ming can hide. Sunrise said coldly. Great improvement in cultivation. Look, even Ji Mai, ranked 107th on the list of top 1,000 talents, is here. There's also senior brother Yen Tong Tong who's ranked 115th. Senior sister Meng Jia who's 118. Someone cried out in surprise, because they saw 3 extraordinary heavens favorites. These 3 people could be said to be the talisman sex conquerors who were closest to the top 100 on the list of top 1,000 talents. They were also the most qualified candidates for the Zongzi position. They were extremely powerful. The 3 of them were expressionless and their eyes were closed. They were sitting on a huge rock and waiting quietly. Bai Qixue had also heard the news and rushed over. She looked anxious. Although she knew that Lu Ming was very powerful and could refine 9th grade 6th level inscription scrolls, which of the top 300 divine level talents on the list of top 1,000 talents could not refine 9th grade 6th level inscription scrolls? This was especially true for the paragons of the puppet sect. They could control powerful puppets and had extremely strong combat strength. She did not think that Lu Ming could compete with such a genius. Tianyun, stay in the Wind Marshal Cave for a while longer. Don't come out. Bai Qixue prayed in her heart. In the Wind Marshal Cave, after 5 days of cultivation, Lu Ming opened his eyes. It's really an opportunity that can't be sought. Lu Ming smiled faintly. However, Lu Ming had no intention of going out. With the breakthrough of the Earth Essence Realm, Lu Ming's 4 Essence Realms of Heaven and Earth had all reached level 2 upper tier and above. His cultivation could continue to improve. Lu Ming planned to improve his cultivation before leaving. He sat cross-legged and waved his hand. A pile of raw gemstones appeared on the ground, and the 9 dragon bloodline emerged. He opened his mouth and inhaled. The devouring power burst out, and at least 200 raw gemstones exploded. The surging original chi was devoured by the 9-dragon bloodline. Origin chi was the chi of the origin of heaven and earth. It was many times stronger than spirit chi. His spirit ocean churned as his true essence continued to rise. Not long after, 200 raw gemstones were refined and another 200 were devoured. Boom, boom, boom. True essence rumbled like a tsunami, and the rumbling only stopped after half a day. 7th level of the spiritual ocean realm. Lu Ming broke through to the 7th level of the spiritual ocean realm in one go. The area of his spirit ocean had doubled again. However, Lu Ming did not stop and continued to refine the origin stone. After another half a day, Lu Ming's cultivation rose to the peak 7th level spiritual ocean realm before he stopped cultivating. In total, he had consumed 3,000 raw gemstones. Fortunately, I have the wealth left behind by Senior Jiuyang. Otherwise, it would have been very difficult. Lu Ming smiled. It was time to leave. It had been 8 days since he came to the Wind Marshal Cave for closed-door cultivation. In the past 8 days, his strength had increased to a terrifying level. With a faint smile, Lu Ming walked out. When he exited the Wind Marshal Cave, he was stunned. Outside, there was a dense crowd of people surrounding the Wind Marshal Cave. Whoa, aren't these people a little too enthusiastic? Did they all wait for me here? Lu Ming could guess what was going on. He was speechless. Tianyun has come out. As soon as Lu Ming came out, someone shouted. Countless pairs of eyes looked at Lu Ming in unison. He's so young and ordinary. I thought he had 3 heads and 6 arms. He's not ordinary. Don't you think he's very handsome? Pooh, love-struck fool, get lost. Instantly, a series of discussions broke out. Many young women's eyes lit up. They felt that Lu Ming was very handsome, which made many young men unhappy. Buzz! A figure strode out and stood in front of Lu Ming. His eyes were dark as he said, Tianyun, you've finally come out. I thought you were going to hide like a turtle in its shell. Let's see where you're going to run off to today. The one who spoke was Rising Sun, and he was the first to step forward. Lu Ming glanced at him and said indifferently, It seems that I didn't beat you up last time. You're really itching for a beating. All right, I'll fulfill your wish today. Lu Ming strode forward. Today, there were so many people gathered here. He would kill the chicken to warn the monkeys, so that he wouldn't be annoyed to death by these people. You're looking for death. Sunrise's eyes turned cold. With a wave of his hand, 7 huge puppets appeared in front of him. 3 of them were equivalent to the 9th level of the spiritual ocean realm, and 4 were equivalent to the peak of the 8th level. When the 7 puppets attacked together, they were comparable to an expert at the peak 9th level of the spiritual ocean realm. Sunrise was ranked in the top 300 on the list of top 1,000 talents, and was known as a god-level talent. He was definitely not weak and could control 7 powerful puppets at once. He was definitely not weaker than Wang Haoxian and Long Qianli. The 7 puppets roared and pounced on Lu Ming. Tianyun, be careful! Bai Qixue shouted from the crowd. Lu Ming smiled faintly. He did not stop and slapped. Many people were stunned. Lu Ming was going to fight the puppet with his body. Many people sneered in their hearts. Puppets were made of all kinds of hard and powerful metals. They were impervious to swords and spears, so how could flesh and blood resist them? But the next moment, their eyes almost popped out. Bang! Lu Ming smacked a puppet at the peak of the 8th level of the spiritual ocean realm with his palm. This puppet, which weighed a few million pounds, was sent flying and exploded into a pile of scrap metal in the air. Bang! Bang! Lu Ming used both his hands and feet, looking like a terrifying god of war. With a punch, a puppet exploded. With a kick, another puppet exploded. Whether it was a puppet at the peak 8th level of the spiritual ocean realm or a puppet at the 9th level of the spiritual ocean realm, the outcome was the same. They were instantly turned into a pile of scrap metal. Countless people rubbed their eyes, thinking that they were dreaming. How could this be possible? How did this happen? An inscriber's main focus was on mental fire. The strength of their body was much weaker than that of a warrior. They had never seen such a direct, overbearing and violent way of fighting, where they used their bodies to crush the puppets and turn them into scrap metal. Lu Ming strode forward and rushed toward the rising sun. Impossible? How did this happen? Dang! Sunrise roared and an inscription scroll appeared in his hand. He opened it and a combat sword appeared. He slashed it at Lu Ming's head. This inscription talisman scroll had the attack power of a peak 9th level spiritual ocean tier. However, with a wave of Lu Ming's hand, the combat sword collapsed. Lu Ming's figure instantly appeared in front of Sunrise and he slapped him. Pa! The crisp sound of a slap resounded throughout the entire place. Many people felt their gums ache, and Sunrise screamed even more miserably. His teeth flew out mixed with blood, and half of his face swelled up high. Pa! With a backhand, he slapped Sunrise again, making him dizzy and unable to sense his direction. Then, he kicked out and Sunrise was sent flying. He lay on the ground and screamed like a dead fish. Many people drew in a breath of cold air. This Tianyun was simply too overbearing and violent. He had defeated Sunrise so easily. One must know that Sunrise was a god-tier genius. How dare you, Tianyun? You're actually so vicious. You've seriously injured your fellow disciples. You've committed a heinous crime. A heaven's favorite that was stronger than the rising sun roared. Don't fucking grumble. If you want to attack, then attack. If you don't dare to attack, then get lost. Lu Ming looked in the direction of the sound. It was a young man with a jade crown on his head. He was fair and clean. Simply put, he was a pretty boy. Guan Rong, who was ranked 259th on the list of top 1,000 talents. A great battle against the various geniuses. He was ranked 259th on the list of top 1,000 talents, which was much stronger than Sunrise. Humph, how arrogant. I'll defeat you. Guan Rong's expression turned ugly after being reprimanded by Lu Ming. He strode forward. With every step he took, dense runes would appear on the ground. Roar! A ferocious tiger was formed and pounced at Lu Ming. After the tiger, there were also giant bears, pythons, and other demonic beasts. In an instant, more than 10 demonic beasts pounced at Lu Ming. To be able to set up so many formations in an instant, Guan Rong's Tao of formations was extremely terrifying. His usage of mental energy fire had also reached the peak of the refinement realm, which was similar to Lu Ming's. As the demonic beasts pounced at Lu Ming, Guan Rong waved his hand and 3 inscription scrolls appeared in front of him. The 3 inscriptions were activated at the same time, and 3 flood dragons pounced out with a roar. Their attack power was equivalent to the peak 9th level of the spiritual ocean realm. This kind of attack was like a storm. A normal 9th level spiritual ocean tier martial artist would be drowned by this storm of attacks and torn into pieces. The combat style of an inscription master was completely different from that of a warrior. Lu Ming was expressionless as he strode forward and struck out with his palm. The space rumbled violently and the demonic beasts that pounced at him were instantly destroyed. What followed were 3 flood dragons. Boom! 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 4 intents of heaven and earth wrapped around his body as he circulated 20% of the prison-suppressing heaven art's power to clash with the 3 flood dragons. Lu Ming did not dare to use the prison-suppressing heavenly art at full force. The power of the prison-suppressing heavenly art was equivalent to the 6th stage of a high-grade demigod martial arts technique. The consumption of vital essence was extremely terrifying. With Lu Ming's current cultivation, if he used all his strength, his vital essence would be completely drained in a few moves. With 3 loud bangs, the 3 flood dragons were defeated. Guan Rong's pupils contracted sharply. In an instant, an array appeared on his body and formed a pair of wings. With a flap of the wings, he retreated like a bolt of lightning. At the same time, he waved his hand and 5 inscription talismans appeared in front of him. 2 of them turned into 2 rings of light and enveloped Guan Rong's body. These were protective talismans that were indestructible. As for the other 3 inscription scrolls, 2 of them condensed 2 combat swords and slashed at Lu Ming. They also had the power of the peak 9th level spiritual ocean realm. The most shocking inscription scroll condensed a long spear and stabbed at Lu Ming. The power that this long spear emitted was terrifying and shocking, exceeding the range of the 9th level spiritual ocean tier. If one had to classify it, it would be classified as a grade 10 level 6 inscription scroll. Lu Ming's eyes turned serious. He condensed 2 long spears in his hands and shot them out, clashing with the 2 combat swords. His palm hit the spear. Explode! Break! Lu Ming shouted in a low voice and the long spear exploded. He used the 9 dragons' heaven treading steps and took a few steps forward, appearing in front of Guan Rong in an instant. His palm was like a sharp sword, stabbing forward. The 2 light screens in front of Guan Rong shattered like paper. No! Guan Rong shrieked and retreated like a bolt of lightning. However, Lu Ming was faster and followed closely behind. He stretched out his palm and grabbed Guan Rong's throat. With a jolt of his Zhan Yuan, Guan Rong's body suddenly went soft like mud. Lu Ming swung his arm and Guan Rong fell heavily to the ground, right beside Sunrise. Everyone around them widened their eyes in shock. You think you're invincible just because you defeated Sunrise and Guan Rong? What a joke! Since he wants to die, let's attack him together and see how capable he is. A cold voice sounded. One figure after another stepped forward, and a powerful spiritual storm burst out, filling the entire area. There were more than a dozen of them, and they were all god-level talents ranked in the top 300 on the list of top 1,000 talents. Some of them were even in the top 200. However, Ji Mai, Yen Tong Tong, and Meng Jia didn't walk out. Instead, they watched from afar with bright eyes. It was obvious that the 3 of them did not want to join forces to deal with Lu Ming. Cut the crap and make your move. Lu Ming's eyes were filled with fighting spirit. He had made great progress this time and wanted to have a big fight. Arrogant. Let's attack together. With a cold shout, more than 50 huge puppets appeared on the ground. For every puppet, the weakest was equivalent to the 9th level of the spiritual ocean tier, while the strongest far exceeded the 9th level. The puppet roared angrily. It stomped on the ground and pounced at Lu Ming. A portion of them had inscription scrolls appear in front of them. Dazzling light spread out from these inscription scrolls, giving off a terrifying aura. Good. The fighting spirit in Lu Ming's eyes grew stronger. The power of the 9 dragons in his 9-dragon bloodline exploded, and a layer of purple-gold scales appeared on his body. What's that? Many people gasped. A secret technique of martial arts. Someone said. Boom! Lu Ming stomped on the ground and the rocks exploded. He dashed out. Boom! Boom! His fists continued to punch out, clashing with the puppets. Bang! 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 The sounds of explosions rose and fell as the puppets at the 9th level of the spiritual ocean tier suddenly exploded like fragile balloons. Lu Ming's combat strength was terrifying when he combined his dragon power with the prison-suppressing steel. Not just the puppets at the 9th level of the spiritual ocean realm, but even those puppets that surpassed the 9th level of the spiritual ocean realm would still be blown up. Such a scene was extremely terrifying. The inscription scroll glowed and all kinds of powerful attacks poured down on Lu Ming. There were endless flames, as well as lightning, storms, swords, blades and so on. Every single one of them was extremely terrifying, far exceeding the 9th level of the spiritual ocean realm. The combat strength of such geniuses all surpassed the peak 9th level spiritual ocean realm. Ordinary experts at the 9th level of the spiritual ocean tier would be blasted into smithereens in an instant. However, Lu Ming was unafraid. He was covered in dragon scales and was indestructible. He charged up and unleashed the prison-suppressing heavenly art from every inch of his body. The attacks exploded with a loud bang. Lu Ming broke through the layers of attacks and charged towards the elites. Not good, quickly retreat. The heavens' favorites were shocked. Each of them used an inscription formation and retreated quickly. At the same time, with every step they took back, they would leave an inscription on the ground. At the same time, a large number of puppets and inscription scrolls appeared. This time, many of the puppets actually formed a large formation. When they worked together, their aura was even more shocking. Moreover, someone even took out an even stronger inscription scroll. These people were known as god-tier geniuses, and their combat prowess was already extremely terrifying. They were characters that could contend against the geniuses of the Empyrean Heavenly Divine Palace and Heavenly Corpse sect. They were naturally very strong. However, Lu Ming was stronger. Lu Ming's combat strength was already extremely terrifying at the last 9 dragons exchange. He had the absolute ability to fight against the top 200. This time, Lu Ming's Earth Will had a breakthrough. All 4 types of will had reached the advanced stage of the 2nd level. When they were combined, they were even more powerful. At the same time, the power of the 9 dragons had also become much stronger. It was several times stronger than the dragon power from before, and with the addition of the prison-suppressing heaven technique. His cultivation had also increased by 1 level, reaching the peak of the 7th level spiritual ocean realm. Lu Ming was now fully confident that he could fight Di Feng and Shurimo, who were ranked 101st and 102nd on the list of top 1,000 talents. How powerful was he? Chapter 871 Piled Together. Lu Ming's current combat strength could be said to be infinitesimally close to a spirit embryo realm expert. Lu Ming could even contend with an ordinary spirit embryo realm expert. Among the younger generation, he was not afraid of anyone except for the top 100 on the list of top 1,000 talents. Boom! Lu Ming was like an ancient beast as he charged forward. He was brutal, violent, and violent as he clashed with the puppets. Boom! 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 He used violent means to break the battle formation formed by the puppets. With a punch, the weak puppets were directly blown apart, and the powerful puppets were also sent flying, their bodies deformed. Some of the flames and lightning struck the scales on Lu Ming's skin but were blocked by them. Bang! Lu Ming blasted away 9 powerful puppets in a row and appeared in front of a Heaven's Pride expert from the puppet sect. The Heaven's Pride expert's eyes widened and he wanted to retreat, but Lu Ming's palm made him spit out a mouthful of blood. He reached out, grabbed and threw, directly to the side of Rising Sun and Guan Rong. 3 figures appeared on the ground, all lying on the ground, unable to get up. Bang! After dealing with this paragon, Lu Ming stomped his feet and soared into the sky. He destroyed 2 scorching fireballs, a lightning sword, and a flood dragon formed from ice in succession. He appeared in front of a paragon from the Talisman sect and punched through his talisman defense. Essential core surged in, and the paragon's body went limp. He was thrown beside Sunrise and the others. Buzz! In the next moment, Lu Ming used the 9 dragons' heaven-treading steps and charged at another prodigy like a bolt of lightning. It was unstoppable. All the puppets and inscription scrolls were destroyed by Lu Ming. One by one, the figures were sent flying by Lu Ming and fell beside the Rising Sun and the others. The people who were watching the battle were all dumbfounded. Their jaws were about to drop as they looked at everything in disbelief. More than a dozen god-level prodigies joined forces, but they could not put up any resistance in front of Lu Ming. They were completely crushed and sent flying one by one. Lu Ming threw them on the ground like garbage and piled them up. In just a few minutes, more than 10 people were left there by Lu Ming. All of them were furious and ashamed. I admit defeat. Some of the remaining people shouted and wanted to admit defeat. They were really frightened by Lu Ming's terrifying combat strength. You want to fight and you don't want to fight and you don't want to fight. How can there be such a good thing? I won't allow it. Lu Ming's eyes were like lightning. His figure was like an ancient beast as he charged at the other party. Bang! Ah! Then, that heaven's favorite was piled together with the Rising Sun and the others. Then, Lu Ming's figure flashed and another 2 geniuses were sent flying. Tian Yun, this is the Talisman Amulet sect. What kind of skill is it for you to win with martial arts? If you have the ability, use the Tao of Inscription. One of the remaining heaven's favorites shouted. However, as soon as he finished speaking, the puppet protecting him was sent flying by Lu Ming. He was also kicked away by Lu Ming and crashed into the group of elites, causing the others to scream in pain. The entire arena fell silent. The dozen or so heaven's favorites were all gathered together and roaring in anger. This caused the countless Talisman Amulet sect disciples to be dumbfounded. They could not believe what they were seeing. These were the few god-tier prodigies of the Talisman sect. Although the Talisman sect's territory was far from being comparable to the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace, it still had over 30 large regions and countless geniuses. There were so many geniuses, but less than 50 god-grade geniuses. Which one of these heaven's favorites wasn't high up in the air? They were like the stars surrounding the moon, looking down on the younger generation. But now, there were more than a dozen of them. They were like a pile of garbage, roaring and screaming. It was too horrible to look at. This scene was too illusionary and unreal. Pa! Some people even slapped themselves ears to see if they were dreaming. Bai Qixue was also stunned. He did not expect Lu Ming to be so powerful. The observatory. Upon hearing Lu Ming's agreement, Ji Mai, Yan Tongtong, Meng Jia, and the others' eyes lit up. The paragons who were thrown together by Lu Ming also had different expressions. Some gritted their teeth and insisted on having the competition 2 months later to regain the face they had lost today. Some were in deep thought. Lu Ming had agreed so quickly. Could it be that the Tao of inscription was also extremely powerful? But how was that possible? If the martial path was already so freakish, how strong could the Tao of inscription be? The true qi in your bodies will dissipate in 2 hours. Lu Ming looked at the young men who were still lying on the ground. He smiled faintly and stepped into the air to leave. Hey Tianyun, wait for me! Bai Qixue immediately followed him like a little shadow. This made the sunrise and other suitors who were pursuing Bai Qixue gnash their teeth in jealousy. However, no one dared to cause trouble for Lu Ming. What a joke! Lu Ming was so powerful in martial arts. Was he looking for a beating? Lu Ming and Bai Qixue swaggered out of the place. Your martial arts cultivation is actually so powerful? You actually hid it from me? On the way, Bai Qixue stared at Lu Ming and mumbled. You didn't ask me. Lu Ming said. You're that strong? He should be very famous. Why haven't I heard of him before? Bai Qixue was confused. Because I'm more low-key. I've always been low-key, so it's normal that you don't know me. Lu Ming said shamelessly, which immediately attracted Bai Qixue's contempt. You want to keep a low profile? He defeated more than 10 God-level heaven's favorites at once. I'm afraid that in 2 days, the news will spread all over Mount Liangyi. Bai Qixue rolled her eyes at Lu Ming and said in disdain. Lu Ming touched his nose. He was forced to do this. Are you really going to participate in the competition 2 months from now? Bai Qixue asked again. Of course, I've already agreed. By the way, what kind of place is the observatory? What's so special about it? Lu Ming asked curiously. The Heaven Observation Platform is also known as the Heaven Observation Land. It can be said to be the #1 cultivation holy land of the Symbol Puppet sect. It is said that in the Heaven Observation Land, one can come into close contact with the inscription laws. By observing the inscription laws, the speed of absorbing the power of inscription will be frighteningly fast. However, the energy required to open the Heaven Observation Land is extremely terrifying. Therefore, the number of people who can enter each time is very limited. The other 13 Zongzis have already entered. This time, only 3 people will be allowed to enter the Heaven Observation Zone. Therefore, a competition will be held in the entire sect. Only the top 3 can enter the Heaven Observation Zone for a month. Bai Qixue explained. Lu Ming nodded. He had a rough idea in his heart. Are you confident? Bai Qixue asked, blinking her big eyes. She was curious. No, I didn't. Lu Ming's answer made Bai Qixue stumble and almost fall. No? If you're not confident, why did you agree? Bai Qixue said. If you agree, you'll have at least 2 months of peace, right? Lu Ming smiled faintly. Indeed, he wasn't 100% confident. After all, he had only been in contact with the Tao of inscription for a short period of time. The other heaven's favorites had already cultivated for more than 10 years. This was especially so for geniuses like Ji Mai, Yan Tong, and Meng Jia. Lu Ming had no confidence in winning just by relying on the Tao of inscription. In terms of the richness of his mental energy fire, Lu Ming was confident that it would not be inferior to Ji Mai and the rest. One should know that Lu Ming had lit 10 mental energy lamps at every level, achieving perfection. No matter how talented Ji Mai and the others were, it was impossible for them to reach the perfect stage. It was already terrifying to be able to light 8 lamps of will at each level. Lu Ming's weakness was his usage of mental energy fire. His usage of mental energy fire had already reached the peak of the refinement realm. In the eyes of ordinary geniuses, it was already very terrifying and not weaker than many god-tier geniuses. However, Lu Ming believed that geniuses like Ji Mai were definitely not just at the peak of minute subtlety. Perhaps, they had already reached the realm of heart. The higher one's mental energy level was, the stronger one's combat strength would be when they had the same mental energy fire. His current weakness was the use of mental fire. Bai Qixue was speechless. So Lu Ming had agreed to it just for 2 months of peace. Soon, the two of them returned to Yun Peak House. Yes, I have to go and buy another batch of demonic beast blood essence to continue to improve the grade of my bloodline. Back in his room, Lu Ming was deep in thought. Also, the third bloodline, I don't know why. I still can't awaken. At the thought of this, Lu Ming frowned a little. Many god-level prodigies had already awakened their third bloodline before they reached the 7th level of the spiritual ocean tier. However, he had yet to awaken it. He could clearly feel that his spine seemed to be nurturing something, but he could not awaken it. He always felt that something was missing. Little Qing and Fatty are also awakening slower than others. I don't know if it's good or bad. Also, I can't just let things be in the competition 2 months from now. I have to convince those people so that they won't find trouble with me. It'll be beneficial for me to take charge of the Talisman Amulet sect in the future. Lu Ming's mind was filled with various thoughts. However, it wasn't that easy to make these god-tier heaven's favorites submit. If I can improve the realm of the use of mental fire, I'll be more confident. I wonder if there's a place in the Yin and Yang mountain where I can refine and use the mental fire. At the thought of this, Lu Ming took out the map that Bai Qixue gave him and opened it to read. Lu Ming's eyes lit up after a while. The Mental Energy Refining Hall was a cultivation ground that specialized in training the use of mental energy fire. The Talisman sect was indeed an overlord force that specialized in the Tao of inscription. It had everything. Lu Ming was now a Zongzi candidate. Apart from a few restricted places, he could enter most of the cultivation places. It was a good time to cultivate there. Lu Ming immediately took out the rough stone and began to devour it to recover his essential core. Not long after, Lu Ming's essential core had fully recovered. He left Cloud Peak residence and headed to the Spirit Training Hall. The Spirit Tempering Hall was a large hall, but it was filled with formations and could accommodate many people to cultivate. Lu Ming flashed his Zongzi candidate token and entered easily. After entering the hall, he found that there were many doors of light. At a glance, there were at least a few hundred. Lu Ming walked inside and chose a door of light in an isolated corner. On the door of light, there were words of elementary, intermediate, advanced, and top-notch. This should be the choice of difficulty. I'll choose intermediate. Lu Ming pressed the word intermediate, and the word intermediate shone brightly. Then, he took a step and stepped in. When he entered the light door, he found himself in an empty void. Here, Lu Ming realized that the essential core in his body was suppressed. Even his intent realm was suppressed. He could only use his mental energy fire. Buzz! A blue arrow shot toward Lu Ming at lightning speed. An arrow condensed from mental fire. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. He could clearly sense that this arrow was completely condensed from mental energy fire. Training the mental fire. Lu Ming's glabella glowed and a more powerful mental energy fire rushed out. It also formed an arrow and shot toward the arrow in front of him. However, just as the two arrows were about to collide, the incoming arrow suddenly turned nimbly and dodged Lu Ming's arrow. It continued to shoot toward Lu Ming. Lu Ming wanted to make a turn, but it was too late. He could only condense more mental energy fire to form an arrow and shoot it at the arrow. The arrow was finally intercepted by Lu Ming and offset. However, at this moment, more arrows suddenly condensed in the surroundings and shot toward Lu Ming. These arrows were extremely agile. Like a nimble snake, they danced in the air and shot toward Lu Ming. Lu Ming controlled the mental fire, but he could not keep up with the speed of the arrows. He could only release more mental fire to block the arrows with numbers. However, This greatly depleted Lu Ming's mental energy fire. Soon, his mental energy fire was depleted. Whoosh! Whoosh! With his mental energy fire depleted, Lu Ming could no longer block the arrows. He was instantly hit by the arrows, and a tearing pain came from his head. His vision turned black, and in the next moment, Lu Ming realized that he had returned to the door of light he had entered earlier. It's only medium difficulty and it's already so difficult. It seems like I'm really not that good at using mental fire? Lu Ming smiled bitterly and stepped into the light door again. The next moment, he was back in the void. Buzz! Around him, more blue arrows formed and shot toward him. It was said that in the spirit tempering hole, the amount and quality of the spirit fire condensed from the arrows were exactly the same as the person who entered. In order to completely block these arrows, one had to condense one's own spirit fire. Each spirit fire had to be equal to the amount of the attacking spirit fire. Furthermore, one spirit fire had to intercept one of the other's spirit fire. This way, one could finally completely offset the attacking spirit fire and pass the test. As long as the mental energy fire that he condensed was thicker and stronger than the other parties, the number of arrows that he could condense would definitely be less than the other parties. Just like Lu Ming previously, he used violent attacks to block some of the arrows in the front. However, very soon, his mental energy would be depleted and he could only be beaten up at the back. However, these arrows were too agile. It was too difficult to block them perfectly. One had to have extremely precise control over one's mental fire. At the same time, one's control of it had to be very impressive in order to completely block them. Lu Ming was fully focused, controlling his mental energy fire to block the arrows that were coming from all directions. This time, Lu Ming held on for a longer time. The arrows that were shot at him were too agile. Lu Ming could not keep up with the speed of the other party by controlling one arrow alone. He could only release a large number of mental energy arrows to surround them. Soon, his mental energy was depleted again. The arrows pierced his body and Lu Ming was teleported out of the door of light. Continue! Continue! Lu Ming stepped into the door of light again and again, training the use of his mental energy fire. Slowly, he became more and more familiar with the use of his mental fire. He could barely keep up with his opponent's speed and offset the arrows by controlling his own mental fire. However, it still wasn't perfect. In the end, he would still be killed and teleported out of the light door. In the blink of an eye, Lu Ming had been cultivating here for 7 days. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. More than a dozen arrows flew in the air. Lu Ming controlled the arrows condensed by his mental energy fire and continuously blocked the arrows that were shot at him. In the end, when Lu Ming's mental energy fire was depleted, there were no more arrows coming from all directions. He blocked the attack perfectly and Lu Ming successfully passed the intermediate level. Now, my usage of mental energy fire has improved a lot, and I'm infinitely close to the heart-reaching realm. Lu Ming thought in his heart. For two people who had the same amount of mental energy fire, the higher the level of mental energy fire utilization, the more puppets they could control. In fact, the stronger the puppet they controlled, the stronger their combat strength would naturally be. Furthermore, those who had a high level of mental energy fire could inscribe formations and inscription scrolls faster. They would be stronger in both elixir and weapon refinement. This was the benefit of having a high level of mental energy usage. The subtle realm was the meticulous use of one's mental energy. One would not waste a single bit of it and would use it to its fullest potential. The heart limit realm, as its name suggested, moved one's mind and the fire of one's spirit. It was incomparably fast. At this realm, be it controlling puppets or inscribing formations, he was terrifyingly fast. In an instant, he was able to inscribe a large formation. How strong was his combat power? It could be said that when two people with the same level of mental energy fire used their mental energy to the extreme realm, they could easily kill someone in the subtle realm. As for the intent movement and shanha, they were even more amazing. Now, the intermediate difficulty is no longer enough for me to level up. It's time to choose the advanced difficulty. At that moment, Lu Ming chose the advanced difficulty and stepped in. He had just entered for a few breaths when there was a flash of light outside the door of light. Lu Ming reappeared. This is too fast. Lu Ming smiled bitterly. In the advanced difficulty, The arrows that appeared were insanely fast and extremely agile. They could make hundreds of turns in an instant. The mental fire arrow that Lu Ming controlled could not keep up with them at all. The moment they entered, they were killed in seconds before they could even block one arrow. The difference was too great. Looks like I'll have to train in the intermediate difficulty for a while longer. Lu Ming smiled bitterly. He chose the intermediate difficulty again and started to cultivate. In the blink of an eye, another 7 days passed. Whoosh, whoosh. Lu Ming's usage of the mental energy fire was getting better and better. The arrows condensed by the mental energy fire became more and more agile under his control. Their speed was terrifyingly fast. He controlled an arrow and shot it into the middle of the other's arrow shaft. The remaining power didn't stop and even offset the other arrow. If Lu Ming used one arrow, he would be able to nullify 2 arrows that were made of mental fire of the same strength. When there were no more arrows condensed around him, Lu Ming's mental energy fire was only left with half of it. Lu Ming's usage of mental energy fire had improved by another level. However, he felt that he had not broken through the heart-to-heart realm. Now, I should be able to try the advanced difficulty. Lu Ming exited the place and chose the advanced difficulty. He took a step in. Whoosh! An arrow moved as fast as lightning in the air. It changed hundreds of directions in an instant, leaving a long trace. Lu Ming could not keep up with the speed of the other party by controlling an arrow. He controlled the 9 arrows and sniped them from different directions. Whoosh! Whoosh! The 9 arrows flew in different directions and blocked the incoming arrow. With a bang, the arrow was finally stopped. However, before Lu Ming could celebrate, 2 more arrows formed and shot toward him. Lu Ming could only gather more arrows to block it. This time, Lu Ming only lasted for half a minute before he was teleported out. Continue. After failing, as long as his mental energy was restored, Lu Ming would continue to step in. Chapter 874 Heart. He stepped in again and again, but failed again and again. Just like that, another 7 days passed. It had been more than 20 days since Lu Ming entered the spiritual tempering hall to cultivate. Lu Ming cultivated like crazy, training his usage of mental energy fire like a mad demon. Buzz! Outside the light door, there was a flash of light and Lu Ming's figure appeared. I know, so it's like this, so it's like this. Lu Ming mumbled to himself, his eyes glimmering with excitement. After such a long period of cultivation, he finally caught a trace of inspiration, the inspiration to break through to heart-reaching. Then, he sat cross-legged and carefully comprehended that inspiration. He sat there for an entire day. A day later, he suddenly opened his eyes. His eyes had calmed down, but revealed a ray of confidence. Then, he stepped into the light door and stood in the void. Whoosh! A blue arrow was as fast as lightning. It made hundreds of turns in the air in an instant and was shot toward Lu Ming. Lu Ming's glabella glowed and an arrow was formed. Go! With a single thought, the arrow flew out. In the next moment, it accurately appeared in front of the arrow and collided with it. Whoosh! Whoosh! The next moment, 2 arrows appeared and shot toward Lu Ming from 2 directions. With a single thought, 2 arrows flew out and made hundreds of turns in the air, catching up to the 2 arrows and canceling them out. The heart is at its limit. This is the heart. I've finally broken through. The corners of his mouth curled up into a smile. Whoosh! 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 The arrows flew in all directions, but none of them could hit Lu Ming. In the end, all the arrows were blocked by Lu Ming. Lu Ming's usage of the mental energy fire had finally broken through and reached the early stage of the heart realm. However, Lu Ming did not stop. He continued to cultivate. He didn't choose the top difficulty, but continued to train in the advanced difficulty. It was said that the top difficulty level was for those at the level of will. Time passed by quickly. In the blink of an eye, Lu Ming had been cultivating in the spiritual tempering hall for 50 days. There were still 10 days left before the competition on the observatory platform. Lu Ming's usage of mental energy fire had already reached the late stage of heart limit. To go from the peak of minute subtlety to the late stage of heart realm in 50 days was a speed that would leave anyone dumbfounded. Only a 7th-rank alchemist could master the state of heart. A 6th-rank alchemist who could master it was already a genius among geniuses. Anyone could come to the spiritual tempering hole, but who would have such a speed of progress? From this, it could be seen that Lu Ming was very talented in the inscription Dao. It's time to go out and buy a batch of blood essence. It's been so long I should have it by now. Lu Ming pondered and left the spirit tempering hole, flying toward the treasure pavilion. During this period, Lu Ming went to the treasure pavilion once and ordered a batch of demonic beast blood essence. Soon, they arrived at the treasure pavilion. "Beauty, how's the demonic beast blood essence I ordered?" Lu Ming asked with a smile. It was still the same beauty from before. "Junior brother Tianyun, you've come." The beautiful woman's big eyes stared at Lu Ming, shining brightly. Now, Lu Ming was a famous person in the Talisman sect. Who did not know that he had fought more than 10 god-level prodigies back then? The 50 portions of Class 8 Lever 6 Demonic Beast Blood Essence and 50 portions of Class 9 Lever 6 Demonic Beast Blood Essence you asked for took a lot of effort to gather. The beauty laughed and took out a storage ring. "Thank you." Lu Ming smiled and kept the storage ring. He then handed the raw gemstone to the other party. "I still have to use it sparingly." Lu Ming made up his mind. After paying the raw gemstones, he headed to Yun Peak House. Along the way, people who saw Lu Ming looked at him with awe and curiosity. The competition will begin in 10 days. Tianyun's martial Dao might be strong, but his Dao of inscription might not be. That's right. We'll be able to see the real deal in 10 days. If the Dao of inscription is not good enough, no matter how strong his martial arts are, he'll have to step down from the Zongzi candidate throne. Many people were discussing and looking forward to the competition in 10 days. Lu Ming returned to the Cloud Peak residence and saw Bai Qixue inscribing the inscription scroll seriously. Her jade-like fingers were long and beautiful as she danced in the air. Inscriptions flew into the talisman paper one after another. The peak of the subtle realm. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. Bai Qixue had made great progress after not seeing him for some time. Her use of the spiritual fire had reached the peak of the refinement realm. It didn't take long for him to finish inscribing a Class 7 Lever 6 rune scroll. Tianyun, you're back? Where had he been cultivating all this time? How's the progress? Bai Qixue's eyes lit up when she saw Lu Ming. It's all right, there's been some progress. Lu Ming said. Some progress? Why don't we have a competition to see who's faster at inscribing inscriptions? Bai Qixue said, with an eager look in his eyes. Lu Ming smiled in his heart. This girl had a breakthrough and wanted to show off in front of Lu Ming. Sure, how do we compete? Lu Ming said with a smile. What do you think about our speed of inscribing formations outside? Bai Qixue said with excitement. Sure, but since it's a competition, there should be some punishment, right? If you lose, how will you be punished? Lu Ming smiled. What punishment? Bai Qixue blinked her big eyes. How about this? If you lose, you kiss me. If I lose, I'll kiss you. How about it? Lu Ming chuckled. You. Who wants to kiss you? You rascal. Bai Qixue's face turned red. Ha ha ha. Lu Ming laughed. He did not do it on purpose. He was in a good mood after having a breakthrough in the use of mental energy fire. Moreover, he had not seen Bai Qixue for a long time. He just wanted to tease her and relax the atmosphere. It's fine if you don't agree, but whoever loses will treat you to a big meal. Lu Ming smiled and strode out of the room. Bai Qixue glared at Lu Ming, but there was a hint of a smile in her eyes. Outside the Cloud Peak house, there was a large open space. It was very wide. The two of them stood facing each other. Let's start. Break. Bai Qixue suddenly shouted and stomped on the ground. At the same time, her 10 fingers bloomed in the air, and dazzling inscriptions flew out and sank into the ground. Buzz! On the ground, a formation immediately appeared, shining with bright light. However, Lu Ming kept smiling and stood there with his hands behind his back, not moving at all. This guy, Why isn't he moving? Humph. He's really arrogant. Watch how I teach him a lesson. Humph. Bai Qixue snorted and took a step forward. The formation glowed and 2 snow-white eagles were formed, flying toward Lu Ming. At this moment, Lu Ming began to move. Lu Ming took a step forward and dense runes appeared on the ground. The runes intertwined and formed a formation. In an instant, 9 formations appeared on the ground almost at the same time. Dandan, the divine turtle of the world. The 9 formations were layered on top of each other, emitting a bewildering light. The 2 combat swords crushed the 2 eagles. At the same time, vines, chains, and a cage of fire appeared, trapping Bai Qixue in the middle. 9 formations? Bai Qixue was dumbfounded. They clearly did not see Lu Ming inscribing the array just now. In the end, they only saw Lu Ming taking a step forward. With just 1 step, he actually inscribing 9 arrays. This was too terrifying, right? Wasn't this speed a little too fast? Heart of the Earth, this is the heart of the Earth realm. You broke through? All of a sudden, Bai Qixue seemed to have thought of something. Her eyes widened and she looked at Lu Ming in a daze. I was cultivating in the spiritual energy refining hall a while ago, and I was lucky enough to make a breakthrough. Do you still want to compete? Lu Ming said with a smile. No more, no more. Bai Qixue kept shaking her head. Lu Ming smiled. He took a step forward and the array disappeared. Tianyun, you're truly crafty. You've clearly broken through, and yet you still agreed to spa with me. You're too crafty, humph. Bai Qixue glared at Lu Ming, gritting her teeth. At the thought of Lu Ming's proposal of giving her a kiss if she lost, she gritted her teeth. She felt that Lu Ming was deliberately trying to take advantage of her. He had clearly broken through, yet he still agreed to compete with her. He was too evil. You didn't ask for the competition yourself, I never said anything about it. Lu Ming said with a smile. Humph. Cunning fellow. There's no big meal to eat. Bai Qixue snorted again and ran back to her room with a proud smile. Hey, you can't go back on your word. Lu Ming was rather speechless. Shaking his head, Lu Ming walked into the courtyard, pushed open the door, and entered. Lu Ming was stunned the moment he entered the room. A small turtle was lying on his bed with its legs crossed. It was gnawing on a blood ginseng that was 10 times fatter than the turtle. Crack, crack, crack. He ate with great relish. Dandan? Lu Ming revealed a look of disbelief. It's actually Dandan. Didn't she run away during the battle in 9 Dragons? Why would he appear here? After all, this was the Yin and Yang mountain. Even a martial emperor could not break the formation of the mountain. How did Dandan get in? Lu Ming, you're back. I've really missed you to death. When Dandan saw Lu Ming, she finished the huge blood ginseng in a few bites and pounced on him. Luckily, Dandan had sent her voice to Bai Qixue, so she didn't hear it. Lu Ming reached out and grabbed Dandan's head, lifting her in the air. Then, he took a step forward and an inscription array appeared, isolating the sound. At the same time, the door was closed. Lu Ming, what are you doing? Quickly release me. Dandan shouted, her 4 legs dancing wildly. You're as timid as a mouse, a guy who's afraid of death, and you still dare to come to me? How did you get away so quickly during the battle in 9 Dragons? Lu Ming asked. Don't slander me. What do you mean I'm afraid of death? I'm wise. I'm far from recovering. I can't help much even if I stay there. Of course, I have to act according to the situation. While all those experts are out, I went to steal a treasure house. Hee. Dandan knew. You went to steal from the treasure house? Whose? Martial Emperor Di Yi's? Lu Ming asked in bewilderment. Of course not. It's just a small treasure vault. There's not much in it. Dandan's eyes rolled. I don't believe it. Take it out and split it in half. Lu Ming said. No, I really don't have any. Let me tell you, most of what I got were spirit herbs. I've been using them to recover during this period of time. I've recovered a lot during this time and can already inscribe 6th and 7th level inscriptions and array techniques. Quickly let go of me. Dandan shouted, her 2 claws stomping hard. Lu Ming then let go of Dandan. Dandan spat out more than 10 jade talismans from her mouth and gave them to Lu Ming. These are level 6 and 7 inscriptions and arrays. Look, I've been thinking about you all the time. Lu Ming picked up a piece and scanned it with his mind. Indeed, there were many kinds of inscriptions on it. They were very complicated and there were many inscriptions that even Lien Song did not know. Lu Ming nodded and kept it without any hesitation. He looked at Dandan curiously and said, "How did you know I was here? Also, how did you get in? I can sense your aura no matter how far away I am. Haha, do you really need to enter this place? Who am I? The head of the top 10 war beasts, the world divine turtle, is more than enough to enter this formation." Dandan burst into laughter. Divine turtle of the world. Lu Ming caught the keyword. Dandan did not mention this word when she bragged in the past. That's right, the world turtle. This time, I ate a large amount of spiritual medicine and recovered a little. I finally remember what my name is. This name is domineering, right? Ha ha ha. Dandan danced with joy, her face full of pride. What's the world turtle? Lu Ming was very curious. He had never heard of this name. You're the plaything, your whole family is a plaything. Dandan was unhappy. She pointed at Lu Ming and shouted, I only remember the name. I'm not too sure about the rest. However, the formation in this place is really powerful. If I hadn't recovered a little, I wouldn't have been able to enter. This fellow. Lu Ming was still a little shocked by Dandan. It was not for anything else, but that he had sneaked into Mount Liangyi. If word got out, it would cause a great uproar. Since you're here, just stay here and don't run around. With that said, Lu Ming sat cross-legged on the bed, took out the jade talisman given by Dandan, and started to read it. There were many types of 6th and 7th level inscriptions and arrays in the Dandan jade talisman. It could be said that there were all kinds of them. It was an eye-opener for Lu Ming and he was so engrossed in it that he forgot about devouring and refining the blood essence. In the blink of an eye, 10 days had passed. 10 days later, the competition between the talisman sect's disciples finally began. It was to fight for the 3 spots in the Heaven Observation Land. Lu Ming opened the door and walked out. Dandan was lying on his shoulder. Tianyun, when did you get a turtle? Bai Qixue looked over curiously. Oh, it's a wild turtle I picked up from the ravine behind the mountain. It looks quite fat, and I'm planning to make soup for it later. Lu Ming answered casually. This made Dandan so angry that she rolled her eyes and almost exploded her turtle shell. You're the wild turtle. Your whole family are wild turtles. Dandan pointed at Lu Ming and shouted. And it's a king-tier wild tortoise. Interesting. Tianyun, let me play with it for 2 days. Bai Qixue opened her eyes wide and looked at Dandan. Dandan was so angry that her whole body was twitching. The two of them chatted as they flew toward the competition. Not long after, the two of them came to a square paved with white jade. At the top of the square, there was a huge jade wall that was more than 3 meters high and 10,000 meters long. Array debate with pictures. One could see that there were inscriptions shining on the jade wall. It was obvious that the jade wall was covered in inscriptions. At this moment, the white jade square was already packed with people. Countless young geniuses of the talisman sect had gathered here. Not only young people, but many older people also came to watch the competition. Look, Tianyun is here. He really dares to come. The heavens' favorites will not let him go. This time, we can't use martial arts. Let's see how strong his Tao of inscription is. He actually managed to sit on the throne of Zongzi candidate. As soon as Lu Ming arrived, everyone's eyes were on him. Tianyun, I hope that your Tao of inscription will not disappoint me. Sunrise walked over. His eyes were very cold and he glared at Lu Ming fiercely. What happened last time was simply a great humiliation. Not bad, Lu Ming. I hope you won't disappoint me. Guan Rong also walked past. He looked at Lu Ming with a sullen and provocative expression. At the same time, the paragons who had been beaten up by Lu Ming previously glared at him fiercely as if they wanted to bite him. Asking for a beating again, right? Lu Ming's gaze swept across the paragons with hostility, causing them to turn pale. They snorted coldly and walked to the other side. From time to time, paragons would fly over in the sky. Lu Ming saw Ji Mai, Yan Tong, and Meng Jia. These three people could be said to be the main characters of the day, receiving everyone's attention. The Talisman sect had 13 people in the top 100 on the list of top 1,000 talents. All 13 of them were Zongzi's candidates and would not be participating this time. As for Ji Mai, Yan Tong, and Meng Jia, they were the ones who were closest to the 100th place. They were also the most qualified candidates for the top 3. The observatory was also the place that the three of them had the most hope of obtaining. Who do you guys think will get first place? It must be Ji Mai. He's ranked 107th on the list of top 1,000 talents. Although the list hasn't been updated for a long time, I don't think anyone can surpass him. That's right, I think so too. Ji Mai should be first without a doubt. As for Yan Tong and Meng Jia, their ranks are quite close. I wonder who's stronger. I wonder if any dark horses have emerged. What do you guys think Tianyun will be in the top few? It is undeniable that Tianyun's martial Dao is so powerful. No one in the Talisman sect's younger generation has such a powerful martial Dao. I'm afraid that the elders have taken a fancy to his martial Dao, which is why they conferred him the title of Zongzi candidate. It's impossible for him to be very strong. At most, he can cultivate to assist his martial arts. That's right. It's impossible to be strong in both. There's no such monstrous person in existence. The surrounding area was filled with discussions. At this moment, a group of figures appeared in the sky, and the entire place fell silent. The Talisman Sect Master, Bai Shijin, the Puppet Sect Master, Du Songjue, and a few other elders had all come. In the sky, runes appeared, and chairs appeared. The elders sat down in the air. At the level of the doyens, inscribing formations in the air was a simple matter. All right, I'll be the host of today's competition. A figure stepped out, his voice rumbling and spreading in all directions. It's Supreme Martial Artist Meng Chong. I didn't expect him to be personally hosting this event. The surroundings were in chaos as many people revealed excited expressions. Meng Chong was one of the 5 great supremes of the Talisman Amulet sect. No one had expected that he would be the host of this competition. The 2 sect masters were also present. It seemed like this competition was very important to them. Increasing at a constant speed. Many people began to frown and ponder, their eyes fixed on the painting. Buzz! Suddenly, someone pointed out a finger and the entire painting shone brightly. Then, the painting disappeared from the wall in a flash. AI! That person sighed. He had chosen the wrong person, and the picture disappeared, becoming the first person to be eliminated. Seeing that someone had been eliminated by the wrong call, the others became even more careful and didn't dare to rashly make a move. However, the competition had a time limit of half an hour. Once the time was up, those who had less than 10 points would also be eliminated. Some people were deep in thought, but some people were still very fast. It was as if they didn't need to think. Their fingers continued to point out, and one formation after another was found. These people were all Heaven's Pride level figures. A Heaven's favorite is indeed a Heaven's favorite. His eyesight is extraordinary. He was able to identify a formation just by pointing at it casually. How amazing! Of course. An alchemist's eyesight is very important. If you don't have good eyesight, you won't be able to become a Heaven's favorite. Look, Ji Mai, Yan Tong, and Meng Jia are the fastest. They've already found 20 formations without much consideration. This is shocking. Look, the other chosen have also found more than 10 spell formations. The first round of the test is not difficult for them at all. Look, that Tianyun is so fast, he's actually found more than 10. Could it be that his Tao of inscription is also so amazing? Some people were discussing. In the end, they looked at Lu Ming in surprise. That's normal. The strength of the Tianyun martial arts shows that he's very intelligent. Even if he helps with the path of inscription, he won't be too bad. It's normal for him to pass the first round. Not bad. Some of the older generation spoke, and the others nodded. During this period, Bai Shijin, Du Songjue, and the other elders watched with interest. However, their gazes were mostly on Lu Ming. They were very clear that Lu Ming's first 5 levels were at the perfect stage. However, mental energy fire alone was not enough to master the Tao of inscription. One's eyesight, the use of mental energy fire, the number of inscriptions and arrays one had mastered, and the strength of one's understanding were all very important. If he only had a strong mental fire and nothing else, he would be useless. It was like a person who had great strength but did not know any martial arts techniques or battle experience. Then, his strength would not be able to exert its original effect. The competition this time was also a test for Lu Ming. Otherwise, why would all of them appear in a competition between the younger generation? Lu Ming's expression was calm as he continued to point his fingers. He was neither fast nor slow. He maintained a uniform movement. It did not seem to be very fast, slower than Ji Mai and the rest. Very soon, Lu Ming had found 20 formations. However, his speed was still the same, neither fast nor slow. In the arena, there were people who continuously made mistakes and were eliminated. There were fewer and fewer people. In the end, many people didn't dare to make a move. They stared at the picture with bloodshot eyes. Some people found more than 10 formations, and without full confidence, they would not dare to make a move. If there were more than 10 people, they could already pass and enter the next round. If they made another move and pointed out the wrong number, they would really vomit blood. Slowly, many people stopped and looked at the others. At this moment, Ji Mai, Yen Tongtong, and Meng Jia had already found more than 50 formations. At this point, their speed had already started to slow down. Sometimes, they needed to think for a while before pointing out a finger. As for Guanrong and the other God-tier heaven's favorites, he had found more than 40 of them. However, his speed was much slower. He had to think for a while before he could find one. Sunrise, in particular, had already found 43 formations. He was frowning and his eyes were bloodshot as he stared at the picture on the white jade wall, but he couldn't find the 44th formation. At this time, Lu Ming's speed was still at a moderate pace. There was no change in his speed compared to before. He pointed with his finger continuously, and the number of arrays he found kept increasing. 30, 40, 50. Very soon, the number of arrays that Lu Ming had found had exceeded 50. However, the speed did not slow down and it was still increasing. At this moment, many people's gazes were attracted to Lu Ming. Guys, look! Tianyun has already found more than 50 formations, and it's still increasing. What's going on? He's not slowing down at all, he's so fast. He's almost catching up to Ji Mai and the others. How did this happen? The surrounding discussions affected even more people. Countless eyes looked at Lu Ming. At first, they were puzzled, but slowly, they turned into shock. When the number of formations Ji Mai found reached 60, Lu Ming's number also reached 60. However, the number of formations that Lu Ming found exceeded 60 and he became the first. This was shocking. No one had expected that Lu Ming could actually find so many arrays. The key was that the speed of his finger was still maintained at a constant speed, as if he didn't need to think. At that moment, even the geniuses who were taking part in the competition below the white jade wall had their eyes on Lu Ming. Sunrise's eyes were bloodshot. He pondered for a long time but could not find 44 arrays. When he heard the movement beside him, he looked at Lu Ming. With one look, his pupils suddenly widened, revealing a look of disbelief, and he shrieked, "How is that possible? How could he have found so many? It's impossible." He simply couldn't believe it, and didn't dare to believe it. Slowly, even Ji Mai, Yen Tong, and Meng Jia stopped searching. They looked at Lu Ming in surprise. Lu Ming was still not slow. He pointed his fingers at a uniform speed and one by one, the arrays were found. This Tianyun couldn't possibly be able to find all the formations, right? That's too terrifying. Look, he's not even slowing down. I know now. From the start, he maintained a speed that was neither too fast nor too slow. That way, he would have enough time to think and identify. However, my G and the others were too fast at the start, so they would have to slow down to think later on. I think Tianyun will stop soon, so he can't be as strong as my G. Someone voiced out his thoughts, causing many to nod in agreement. In the Sky, by Shijin, Du Songjue, and a few others had faint smiles on their faces. They were very calm, and no one knew what they were thinking. However, as the number of arrays that Lu Ming found increased, his speed did not seem to slow down at all. The number of arrays that he found continued to increase. Very quickly, it exceeded 70, and the number was increasing at a constant rate. 71, 72. Those who thought that Lu Ming would stop immediately were dumbfounded and their faces were flushed red. Everyone's eyes were focused on Lu Ming. They stared at him and wanted to see how many Lu Ming could find. When Lu Ming clicked on the 76th option, he suddenly stopped and turned to look at his surroundings. Who? The crowd that was watching heaved a long sigh of relief. Lu Ming finally stopped. 99 formations. Look, I was right, wasn't I? He kept a moderate speed in the beginning so that he had time to think. But he has his limit, and now he has reached it. I bet he has reached the end and can't find the next array. The person who had spoken earlier immediately spoke again, winning the approval of the crowd. That's right. 76 should be his limit. However, it's already terrifying. I don't think Ji Mai and the others can exceed this number. I didn't expect that Tianyun's eyes would be so sharp. Many people sighed and discussed. Lu Ming looked at his surroundings in surprise. The reason he stopped wasn't because he couldn't find it, but because he suddenly felt eyes on him from all directions. He was surprised, so he stopped. At this time, he looked around and saw that there was nothing. Lu Ming looked at the picture again, stretched out his finger and pointed. The 3 combat swords slashed out and then disappeared in the air. Another array was found. Then, Lu Ming started to point at it at a uniform speed. The 78th, 79th, 80th. In a few breaths, Lu Ming had found more than 80 arrays and the number was still increasing. Everyone present was dumbfounded. The person who had spoken earlier almost bit his tongue, and his face turned red. He had just said with certainty that Lu Ming had reached his limit, and it was impossible to find the next one. However, he was immediately slapped in the face and he felt his face burning. How many can he find? I don't know. Tianyun's speed has always been constant. I can't guess. It said that there are a total of 99 formations on a painting. He won't find all of them, will he? That shouldn't be possible. In history, there are very few people who could find all the formations. Even those supreme beings didn't have this skill when they were young. The discussion continued without stopping. Ji Mai, Meng Jia, and the rest all stopped and stared at Lu Ming. At this moment, they already knew that they would definitely lose as they were identifying the formation quickly. They could not beat Lu Ming. They were even more curious about how many Lu Ming could find. Damn it, how did this happen? Sunrise's eyes were red and he growled. He had always harbored a grudge against Lu Ming after being abused by him the last time. However, he could not defeat Lu Ming. He had always wanted to humiliate Lu Ming in the Tao of Inscription in this competition. But now, the array that Lu Ming found was far superior to his. How could he humiliate him? Interesting. In the Air, by Shijin, Du Songjue, and the others all revealed expressions of interest. Lu Ming had no other thoughts in his mind. He pointed his finger continuously and had no intention of stopping. He had received the inheritance from Lian Song, so he knew a lot of inscriptions and formations. Also, the inscriptions and formations that Dandan had given him were even more complex and had all kinds of things. The formations on these drawings were only meant to test the young, so how could they possibly stump him? The number of formations he found continued to increase, and soon, it exceeded 90, but it did not stop. Very quickly 96, 97, 98. Finally, Lu Ming pointed with a finger. The sound of a sword whistling reverberated throughout the square. 99. Lu Ming had found 99 formations. At this moment, Lu Ming finally stopped because he realized that there was no more formation on the picture. At this moment, the entire place was silent. Everyone looked at Lu Ming in a daze. Their eyes were wide open and they could not say a word. It was too shocking. Lu Ming had actually found all the array techniques. This was beyond everyone's expectations. In the history of the Talisman Amulet sect, this had only happened a few times. Could it be that Lu Ming's inscription skills were also so terrifying that they were above his martial arts? How was this possible? How could there be such an abnormal person in the world? Being good at identifying formations doesn't mean that one's Tao of inscriptions is good. Identifying formations tests one's knowledge and insight. Perhaps Tianyun has seen many inscriptions and formations before, which is why he's so good at identifying formations. That's right. There have been people like that in history. The cultivation level and usage of mental fire were very poor. However, due to his extensive reading, he has very good eyesight and is very good at identifying arrays. Perhaps Lu Ming is such a person. Yes, it must be like this. Many people agreed. It seemed that this was the only way to make them feel better. Impossible, this is impossible. At this moment, a loud shout suddenly reverberated through the entire area. Everyone's gaze turned to the person who had shouted, "Sunrise." The person who shouted was Sunrise. Su Rai's eyes were red as he glared at Lu Ming and roared, "Tianyun, it's impossible for you to find all the formations. You're cheating. You're definitely cheating." Lu Ming sneered. He looked at the rising sun and said, "Which eye of yours saw me cheating? Also, there are so many people here. Did anyone see me cheating? Maybe you're just lucky and picked a very simple picture. There are a total of 5,000 pictures here, so it's normal for you to pick a simple one." Sunrise gritted his teeth and shouted. At this moment, he was filled with jealousy. He had completely forgotten that Meng Chong had said that the difficulty of these 5,000 drawings was the same. The reason why he said this was because he was suspicious of Meng Chong, a supreme martial artist. Nonsense! As expected, Meng Chong's face darkened. He looked at the rising sun and snorted. Sunrise shuddered but still gritted his teeth and looked at Lu Ming. He did not believe that Lu Ming could really find all the arrays. He still believed that Lu Ming was lucky and had chosen a simple picture. In the crowd, there were also people who revealed thoughtful expressions. Some people had the same thoughts as the rising sun. After all, there were a total of 5,000 drawings on the white jade wall, and every one of them was different. It was too difficult to ensure that the difficulty of all 5,000 drawings was the same. Perhaps, there were some drawings that were relatively easier. Many people had such thoughts. They were no longer as shocked as they were when they looked at Lu Ming. Lu Ming's expression was calm. He looked at the rising sun indifferently and said, "So you're saying that the difficulty of your painting is very high? At least it's harder than yours." Sunrise said coldly. Lu Ming smiled and strode toward the rising sun. What are you trying to do?" Sunrise's body trembled, and he could not help but take a step back. He was still traumatized after being beaten up by Lu Ming for a while previously. He was afraid that Lu Ming would fly into a rage out of humiliation and beat him up again. "You're really trash." Lu Ming pursed his lips, making Sunrise's face turn ashen. "You found 43 formations? This is your result? You think you can be called a god-tier heaven's favorite?" Lu Ming sneered. "The difficulty is different. What are you so proud of?" Sunrise gritted his teeth. "Oh really? Difficulty? He. With that, Lu Ming suddenly strode forward to the picture of the rising sun and waved his hand. Countless finger shadows flew out and touched the picture of the rising sun. "Yours, is it very difficult?" At this moment, Lu Ming had pointed at least 30 fingers. The roars of the beasts were continuous. Giant wallevers, fierce tigers, eagles, and other demonic beasts flew out and howled at the sky. On the upper left corner, the number representing the number of formations began to soar. In the beginning, it was 43. In an instant, it rose to 75. In a single breath, the number had soared to 75. However, this was not the end. Lu Ming waved his fingers and the sky was filled with finger shadows. At a terrifying speed, he continuously pointed. The number continued to rise. 5 breaths. In just 5 breaths, that number had soared to 99. He found all of them. Within 5 breaths, Lu Ming had pointed out all the formations. This. Countless people's eyes were wide open. Their mouths were as wide as half of their faces. They all had the same expression as they looked at Lu Ming in a daze. Silence. The entire place was silent. Not a single sound was made. This was too terrifying. He had found all the formations in 5 breaths. This had never happened before. This guy. Bai Qixue's beautiful eyes were filled with excitement as she looked at Lu Ming. Ji Mai, Yan Tongtong, Meng Jia, and the others were also shocked. Your drawing, is it very difficult? Lu Ming's gaze shifted back to the rising sun as he spoke indifferently. These words were like a series of slaps on Sunrise's face, causing his face to flush red as if it was about to bleed. His eyes were bloodshot and his body was trembling violently. He was still in shock. He had just said that Lu Ming's picture was simple and he was just lucky. But now... He had pondered hard for a long time and only found 43 of the pictures that he had chosen. He had also said earlier that his pictures would definitely be more difficult than Lu Ming's. The most ironic thing was that he could not find a picture after racking his brains. He said that it was more difficult than Lu Ming's, but Lu Ming found it with a wave of his hand in less than 5 breaths. Could there be anything more ironic than this? Compared to Lu Ming, he was simply blind and useless. He wished he could find a hole to hide in. Tianyun, don't be too pleased with yourself. Identifying formations is just a test of one's eye of discernment. You've only read a few more books on formations and inscriptions, and that's all. However, in the Tao of inscription, not only will knowledge be useful, it will also require application. If you can't use it, you're just a nerd. Sunrise growled. He did not believe that Lu Ming's Tao of refinement was that impressive. Like some people, he thought that Lu Ming had only seen more inscription arrays. Is that so? Lu Ming smiled faintly and turned to leave. He could not be bothered with the rising sun. Not bad. In the sky, Bai Shijin stroked his beard and laughed. Bai Shijin, don't be happy too early. He has received the inheritance of our master and has mastered the inscription formations. It's only natural that he can recognize all the formations in the pictures. The main thing is to look at the back. Du Songjue said. That's true. Bai Shijin nodded. They were conversing through voice transmission, so no one else could hear them. All right, half an hour hasn't passed yet. If you want to continue searching, then quickly continue. At this moment, Meng Chong announced. Ji Mai, Yan Tonghua, Meng Jia, and the others perked up and continued their search. Very quickly, half an hour had passed. Everyone's results were already out. More than 3,000 people had participated, and more than half of them had been eliminated. Only 1,500 people had passed the first round. Without a doubt, Lu Ming's results were first. The second place was Ji Mai. He found 67 formations. The third place was a young man named H. Ming, who had found 65 formations. Everyone looked to the east of the White Jade Square. There was a pagoda there. It was thousands of meters tall and reached into the clouds. It occupied a vast area. This was the All Formations Pagoda. Meng Chong walked in the air and arrived near the 1,000 Formation Tower first. I believe most of you know that the 1,000 Formations Pagoda is divided into 36 levels. There are many great formations inside, and they change endlessly. The power will be different according to the difficulty of the choice. The formations at the bottom are relatively simple. The higher you go, the more difficult it is. Only by breaking those formations can you get to the next level. The second round of the competition will be held in the 1,000 Formations Pagoda. The difficulty level is medium. Only those who can pass the 12th level will pass and enter the next round. Meng Chong announced. What? The intermediate difficulty required one to pass all Tulivir levels? Such high requirements. I'm done for. I just passed the All Formations Pagoda not long ago. I can only reach level 9. I can only make it to the 10th level. It's over. I'm most likely going to be eliminated. As soon as Meng Chong's words fell, the surrounding people sighed. Lu Ming was curious. He had seen this All Formations Pagoda on the map that Bai Qixue had given him. It was a place for Talisman Amulet sect disciples to cultivate. Lu Ming had not been here before. Some people sighed, while others had calm eyes, clearly knowing what was going on. That was because most of them had come to pass the All Formations Tower, and there was a rough estimate of how many levels they could pass. All right, there are a total of 15-16 people who have passed the first round. Each time, 500 people will enter. Now let's begin. Meng Chong announced. Suddenly, many figures rushed towards the Thousand Formations Pagoda. From the bottom of the Thousand Formations Pagoda, a door of light entered and disappeared. Ji Mai, Yen Tonghua, Meng Jia, and H. Ming, the four of them went in at the same time. This is going to be a good show. This H. Ming is a dark horse. I wonder how many levels the four of them can reach? Around them, someone exclaimed. Lu Ming was also watching with great interest. How does the All Formations Tower look at results? How do we know who has passed and how many levels? At that moment, Bai Qixue had walked to Lu Ming's side. Lu Ming asked Bai Qixue about it. Did you see that? There's a huge jade tablet beside the Thousand Formations Pagoda. As long as someone enters, their name will be displayed on it. Behind the name, it will show the level they have reached. Also, this Thousand Formations Pagoda is absolutely fair. Everyone who goes in will face the same formation. Bai Qixue explained. Lu Ming looked to the side. Indeed, there was a jade tablet there with names appearing on it. There were 500 of them. At this moment, behind the 500 names, there was a 1. It was obvious that everyone was on the first floor. However, Ji Mai, Yen Tonghua, Meng Jia, and H. Ming's names were quickly replaced by the word 2. The changes happened almost at the same time. This meant that the four of them had entered the second level at the same time. But not long after, the four of their names became 3 again. Only then did the other Heaven's favorites make it to the second level. After the second group of people entered, the names on the jade tablet all changed to the names of the second group. Time flew by, and night soon fell. Inscriptions glowed around the white jade square, forming pillars of light that brightened the white jade square as if it were daytime. Soon, everyone was teleported out. In the second group, there was no one who was particularly amazing. The highest was only at level 25. Sunrise was also in the second group. He only made it to the 24th level before he was teleported out. Now the third batch. The rest of you go in. Meng Chong announced. The last batch had 516 people. Lu Ming and Bai Qixue followed the crowd and rushed into the Thousand Formations Tower. Countless gazes were fixed on the jade tablet. Tianyun has entered. I wonder how many levels he'll be able to reach. Tianyun's array analysis is very powerful. Challenging the All Formation Pagoda is related to the array analysis. I think his results won't be bad and he should be able to pass level 20. After the 20th level? You value him that much? That's right. He's really good at identifying arrays. I guess he can find the weaknesses of many arrays. As long as his Tao of Inscription is not too bad. His results in the Thousand Formations Tower will not be too bad. You're right. However, in the end, he still needs to rely on his strength to pass the All Formations Pagoda. The 24th level is his limit. It's almost impossible for him to pass the 25th level. Many people expressed their opinions. There was a flash of light and the surrounding environment changed. Lu Ming found himself in a valley. As soon as he appeared, formations appeared around the valley. The formations condensed into more than a dozen combat swords and slashed at Lu Ming. They're all low-grade level 6 formations. Lu Ming took a glance and understood everything. With a step, inscriptions spread out from the ground and entered the formations. The formations collapsed and disappeared. The surroundings changed again. This time, they were in the middle of a forest. Lu Ming speculated that he had already reached the second level. In the forest, formations appeared as well. This time, Lu Ming was faster. He took a step forward and runes appeared. He destroyed the weak points of the formations and caused them to collapse. The people outside were right about one thing. Lu Ming had sharp eyes. He could tell the weaknesses of these arrays with one look and could break them easily. Lu Ming's speed was incomparably fast. He passed through the levels one by one. The environment and the array techniques that appeared on each level were different, but it was not difficult for Lu Ming. His speed was like a hot knife through butter. So fast. Tianyun's speed is so fast. He's already reached the 10th level. Outside, someone exclaimed. In the third group of people, Lu Ming's speed was far ahead. His eyesight is indeed extraordinary. The level of the array below the 12th floor is not high and is relatively simple. It is not difficult for him to break it. But after the 13th floor, his speed will definitely slow down. That's right. After the 13th level, it's impossible to rely on your eyesight alone. Look, he has passed the 12th palace. Someone cried out in shock. Everyone's eyes were fixed on the jade tablet, on the first place, Tianyun's name. The name was displayed according to the name recorded in the identity token. The identity token recorded by Lu Ming in the Talisman Amulet sect was called Tianyun. Very quickly, the entire place fell silent. This was because after Lu Ming reached the 13th level, his speed did not slow down. He was still as fast as he was on the previous Tulavir levels. Bai Qishue's talent was amazing, otherwise, she would not have been accepted as a disciple by Bai Shijin, a leader of a sect and a supreme master. Everyone waited in silence. In the blink of an eye, an hour had passed. He's moving. Tianyun has charged through. Suddenly, someone exclaimed. The number behind Lu Ming's name had changed to 35. 35th step. This was already the record for the strongest Heaven's Pride expert of this generation. In the Myriad formation's pagoda, light shone and countless inscriptions flickered. A large formation emerged, forming a terrifying saber radiance that slashed at Lu Ming. Each of these blade lights could easily kill an existence at the peak of the 9th level of the spiritual ocean realm. And here, there were hundreds of blades shining. Of course, if one was hit by the blade light here, they would not really die. They would only fail to pass the level and be transported out. Lu Ming took a few steps forward and his fingers moved quickly. Runes appeared one after another, forming a large array. Shields appeared and blocked Lu Ming's surroundings. The saber beams were blocked by the shields. Then, Lu Ming began to step forward and form an array. He searched for the weaknesses of the big arrays and began to crack them. However, the formation on this level seemed to be endless. After one was broken, another one would appear. Lu Ming continuously inscribed runes and continued to crack them at a very fast speed. Time passed by slowly. 2 hours later, no new array appeared. Lu Ming successfully cleared the 35th level and appeared on the 36th level. At this moment, the outside world was in an uproar. Lu Ming had actually passed through the 35th level and entered the 36th level, breaking the record of this generation. Of course, the other 13 Zongzis hadn't cleared the intermediate level of the All Formations Pagoda for many years. The records they left behind were all from many years ago. Otherwise, the 13 Zongzis, who were ranked in the top 100 on the list of top 1,000 talents, would definitely be able to pass the medium difficulty level of the 1,000 Formations Pagoda. Even if they were powerful, they could still pass it. Another 3 hours passed, and on the jade tablet, Tianyun's name glowed brilliantly, emitting a golden light. This meant that Lu Ming had cleared the level. A wave of shocking cheers and shouts of disbelief erupted from the audience. Lu Ming had actually cleared the level. Was his Tao of inscription also so terrifying? Or was his eyesight already so terrifying that he could accurately find the weakness of the formation? The 1,000 Formations Pagoda shone with a golden light and Lu Ming was teleported out. Countless eyes were on Lu Ming. At this moment, some people had already revealed looks of admiration. In the second round, without a doubt, Lu Ming came in first. Then, Meng Chong announced the names of the people who passed the second round. There were a total of 200 people. Out of more than 1,500 people, only 200 people successfully advanced. The rest were all eliminated. The elimination rate was really high. Now, the 200 who have advanced will proceed to the third round. The third round will be a battle of strength, Meng Chong announced. Then he waved his hand. In the center of the white jade square, inscriptions glowed, and a huge bronze, ancient fighting ring appeared. Then, Meng Chong announced the rules. The third round was a test of overall strength. Formations, puppets, inscription talismans, and spirit weapons could all be used. However, there was one point. Inscription talismans had to be made by the user. The winner would advance and the loser would be eliminated. Until the top 3 were selected, they would be rewarded with the opportunity to cultivate on the observatory. As for who would fight who, it was completely up to Meng Chong. Now whoever's name I call will go up the stage, Meng Chong announced as he swept his gaze across the crowd. Everyone's spirits were lifted. Tian Yun. Meng Chong called out the first name. The sullen rising sun. Everyone's heart skipped a beat. They had not expected Meng Chong to call out Tian Yun first. Lu Ming was stunned as well. He did not expect to be the first to go on stage. However, he did not care. It did not matter which rank he went on stage. Lu Ming moved and rushed up to the fighting ring. Sunrise. Then, Meng Chong reported another name. The crowd went silent, and then they all revealed strange smiles. Meng Chong was the first one to let Lu Ming fight against the rising sun. This was definitely intentional. The corners of Lu Ming's mouth curled into a smile. This supreme Meng Chong was really interesting. In the crowd, Sunrise's eyes flickered. He stepped into the air and walked onto the fighting ring. Tian Yun, even though you've passed level 36 of the 1,000 Formation Pagoda, I'm guessing that you've done so by relying on martial arts, right? Can you break through with your Tao of Inscription? You're courting death, Su Ri said coldly as he stared at Lu Ming with a cold gaze. The eyes of the people around the white jade square flickered. I think Sunrise's words make sense. That's right. In the 1,000 Formations Pagoda, no one could see how Tian Yun sure broke through the formations. Perhaps he broke through with the power of martial arts. His martial arts are indeed very terrifying. Yes, martial arts can also break arrays. Why didn't I think of this before? Maybe it's true. Then it's not that impressive that he passed the 36th level. After all, his power of martial arts is really strong. If the other 13 Zongzis were to challenge the medium difficulty level of the 1,000 Formations Pagoda, they would be able to pass quickly. The discussion around them grew louder and louder. Many people had suspicious looks in their eyes. They all thought that Lu Ming had relied on the power of martial arts to clear level 36 of the 1,000 Formations Pagoda. Just watch. No matter what, martial arts can't be used in the third round. You can only rely on the Tao of Inscription. We'll soon find out whether the Tao of the Heavenly Cloud is strong or not. Not bad. Just watch. Some people were more rational and did not rush to make a conclusion. On the fighting ring, Sunrise smiled smugly when he saw that his words had aroused everyone's suspicion and caused them to deny all of Lu Ming's achievements. Humph, Tian Yun, let's fight purely with the Tao of Inscription. I'll let you know that it was your mistake to hit me last time. I'll pay you back 10 times over. Sunrise gritted his teeth. During this process, Lu Ming's expression was very calm. He was carefree as if he did not care at all. Are you done with your nonsense? If you're done, let's start. The others still want to compete. Lu Ming spoke indifferently. From his tone, it was as if he did not care about the rising sun. Since you're so eager to be abused, I'll fulfill your wish, Sunrise said coldly. Then, he strode forward. With every step he took, an array would appear on the fighting ring. In the blink of an eye, more than a dozen large formations appeared on the fighting ring. These large formations condensed monstrous flames and surged toward Lu Ming. Bang! Lu Ming took a step forward and runes spread out from under his feet. They seemed to be alive and swam to the array set up by the rising sun. Sunrise's array formation was like a bubble. With a pop, it disappeared. The flames that filled the sky also disappeared. What's going on? Sunrise was shocked. He then roared and waved his hands. On the ground, another formation appeared. However, the formation had only emerged halfway when Lu Ming took a light step forward. The formation that had just emerged from the rising sun disappeared with a puff. Sunrise bellowed angrily and continued to inscribe the array. However, Lu Ming took another light step and Sunrise's array also appeared halfway before disappearing. Every time Sunrise tried to inscribe a formation, Tianyun would be able to accurately see through the weakness of his formation and break it. A white-haired old man stroked his beard and nodded his head repeatedly with a surprised look on his face. Many people recognized him as an elder of the Talisman sect. He was a level 8 inscriber and extremely powerful. Since the level 8 alchemist had spoken, there was no mistake. Many people gasped, their eyes filled with shock. To think that Tianyun would be able to see through the weakness of the rising sun formation even before it was completed, or perhaps even just halfway through its inscribing process. This was truly terrifying. If it was a complete formation, it would still make sense if it could see through the weakness. But for a formation to be able to find its weak point before it was fully inscribed and before it could even fully display itself, how it would operate was still unknown. It wasn't even clear what inscription the other party wanted to inscribe. This was too terrifying. Moreover, Lu Ming could easily take a step forward and quickly break the rising sun's array. His control of the mental energy fire was extremely amazing. This was a slap to the face of the rising sun. Earlier on, didn't Sunrise say that Lu Ming used martial arts to break the array in the Myriad array pagoda? Now, Lu Ming would let him see what he had to use to break the array. Was it the martial Tao or the Tao of inscription? At this moment, Sunrise's face was red. He bellowed continuously. Every time he was halfway through inscribing the array, Lu Ming would break it. That feeling was too uncomfortable. It was as if he had strength but could not use it. Every time he was halfway through, he had to hold it back. He almost vomited blood. In the end, he roared in anger and retreated quickly. With a wave of his hand, 9 huge puppets appeared and formed a battle formation, charging at Lu Ming. Lu Ming sneered and took a step forward. Suddenly, dense inscriptions appeared on the ground. A huge formation emerged and 9 combat swords condensed. With one slash, the 9 puppets of the rising sun were cut in half. At the same time, another formation appeared under Sunrise's feet. Vines flew out and wrapped around Sunrise. Then, the formation glowed, and one fist after another condensed and rushed toward the rising sun. No, I admit defeat. No. Sunrise shouted, but it was too late. The endless fists drowned him out. Only his shrill screams could be heard on the fighting ring. When the fist disappeared and the formation was hidden, Sunrise was lying miserably on the fighting ring. His body was covered in wounds and his face was swollen like a pig's head. No one could recognize him. Looking at Sunrise's miserable appearance, many people felt cold all over. Heart of the Earth. His usage of mental energy fire has reached Heart of the Earth. Impressive. It was still the 8th grade alchemist. He stroked his beard and spoke with admiration. What? Tianyun has actually reached the state of heart? Many people were extremely shocked. There was only one step between the minute and the heart, but the difference was like heaven and earth. Other than the 13 Zongzi candidates, only Ji Mai, Yen Tongtong, Meng Jia, and Hu Ming had reached the state of heart supremacy. Now, there was another Tianyun. Chapter 883 Advancing. Now, no one had any doubts that Lu Ming had used martial arts to clear the Myriad Formation's tower. His eyesight was too terrifying and he could easily see through weaknesses. Furthermore, his control of mental energy fire had reached the heart realm. Perhaps he could really pass through the 36th level. Wasn't this too shocking? Tianyun's martial Tao was so terrifying, and even his Tao of inscription was so terrifying? How were the others supposed to survive? Ji Mai, Yan Tonghua, Meng Jia, and H Ming's eyes turned serious. This time, perhaps Tian Yun would be a formidable opponent. Haha, not bad, not bad. In the sky, Du Songjue, by Shijin, and the others nodded and laughed. It seems that this little guy still holds grudges. Bai Shijin laughed. He was referring to the incident where Lu Ming beat the rising sun into a pig's head. This is what a real man should do. When the other party bullies you, of course, I have to fight back. I think Lu Ming is my type. No wonder this kid can cause a war in 9 dragons. Du Songjue stroked his snow-white beard and laughed. Ever since they found out that Lien Song was killed by Martial Emperor De, Du Songjue and the others from the puppet sect had given up on the idea of joining Martial Emperor De's side. All they could think of now was how to fight against Martial Emperor De. Therefore, Du Songqing's opinion of Lu Ming had changed greatly. He naturally hoped that Lu Ming would be as strong as possible. It would be best if Lu Ming could lead the Talisman Amulet sect to fight against Martial Emperor De in the future. That's true. However, Lu Ming's array is all about fists. Where did he learn it from? Why have I never heard of such an array? Bai Shijin asked, puzzled. The formation condensed a fist, and it wasn't very powerful. It was as if it was specially used to beat people. They had lived for thousands of years and had never seen such a formation. However, they soon found out the answer. Since you're looking for trouble, I can only fulfill your wish. This is a formation I came up with 2 days ago. It's quite effective, right? Lu Ming walked to the front of the rising sun and smiled. Lu Ming had mastered countless inscriptions from Dandan. All arrays were made up of inscriptions. Lu Ming had nothing to do for the past 2 days and had conceived such an array. It was very effective when used to beat people up. In the sky, Bai Shijin, Du Songjue, and the others were stunned as they looked at each other. As it turned out, this array was developed by Lu Ming and it was specially used to beat people up. At the same time, they were also very shocked that Lu Ming could actually develop his own array. This was something that could only be done with an extremely strong foundation. Sunrise's eyes were so swollen that he could not open them. He moved his body with all his might, full of fear towards Lu Ming. Tian Yun wins this battle, Meng Chong announced. Lu Ming smiled and got off the fighting ring. Someone went up and helped Sunrise off the fighting ring. Good job, Tian Yun. Bai Qixue was so excited that her face turned red, and she clenched her fists. The competition continued. Meng Chong called out names and they began to fight one-on-one. Lu Ming stood below and looked at the fighting ring. Lu Ming had seen many battles between warriors, but he rarely saw a battle between inscription masters. Lu Ming watched with interest as he watched all kinds of formations flash and puppets pounce. It was quite interesting. Meng Chong seemed to be doing this on purpose. The God-grade Heaven's favorites started to move away from each other and didn't bump into each other. Soon, it was Bai Qixue's turn. Bai Qixue's opponent was not strong, so she won easily. After a day and a night, the 200 people had all finished their battles, leaving only 100 people. The next 100 people continued to fight in pairs, and Meng Chong picked them. This time, Lu Ming was at the back of the queue. When he went up the stage, his opponent immediately admitted defeat. This person was not as strong as Rising Sun, but Rising Sun was easily abused by Lu Ming. Naturally, he quickly admitted defeat to avoid further humiliation. Very quickly the top 50 were born. Bai Qixue did not advance. She met a master and failed. Next, it was the competition to advance from the top 50 to the top 25. Those who were able to rank in the top 50 were all geniuses among geniuses. Among them, there were more than 30 god-tier geniuses, while the rest were quasi-god geniuses. The competition continued. This time, Lu Ming's opponent was a quasi-god level prodigy. However, he was quickly defeated by Lu Ming's lightning-fast formation. When one's usage of mental energy fire had reached the Heart's End realm, the speed at which one inscribed the array was too fast. On the other hand, Ji Mai, Yan Tonghua, Meng Jia, and H Ming also won the competition in a crushing manner. The top 25 had been born. What was somewhat unexpected was that a few god-tier geniuses had been defeated by a few new faces. Without a doubt, These new faces were all new geniuses who had risen up and were all very powerful. Next, there are 25 people. I will choose Jimai to enter the top 4 directly. The remaining 24 of you will fight in pairs until the last 3 will fight with Jimai for the top 3. Do you have any objections? At this time, Meng Chong's voice reverberated throughout the entire area. No objections. I have no objections. The other 24 people chimed in. Jimai was too strong. He would definitely lose if he went up against him. It was better to let him advance directly so that they would not meet him in advance. The others would naturally agree. This time, Jimai's strength was recognized as the number 1. Alright, since you've all agreed, then Jimai will not need to compete for the time being. Next, the top 12 will be from the top 24. Yen Tong will fight Gao Lu. Meng Chong announced. Yen Tong Tong flew up and his opponent was a beautiful lady. She was also a god-tier genius. Yen Tong Tong belonged to the puppet sect and was good at controlling puppets. Gao Lu belonged to the talisman sect and was good at inscription talismans. Gao Lu took out 6 class 9 lever 6 inscription scrolls. They shone with all kinds of lights, some for protection, some for attacking, and some for trapping enemies. With a wave of his hand, Yen Tong Tong summoned Tulavir puppets. Each of the 12 puppets was not at class 9 lever 6, but class 10. The 10th level of the 6th level had already surpassed the 9th level of the spiritual ocean realm and was equivalent to the great circle of the spiritual ocean realm. It could also be considered a half-step spirit embryo realm. Inscription scrolls and puppets were very similar to the classification of demonic beasts and corresponded to martial arts. An inscriber's strength had little to do with the division of mental energy fire. It mainly depended on the formations one inscribed, the inscription talismans one had mastered, the puppets one controlled, and so on. Yen Tong Tong, for example, was controlling 12 class 10 lever 6 puppets at the same time. It was equivalent to 12 perfected Spirit Sea realm experts attacking together. Furthermore, he had set up a formation, and the power was extremely terrifying. Yen Tong Tong, ranked 115th on the list of top 1,000 talents, had terrifying strength. The powerful puppet easily tore through the defense and attack of the golems and defeated them. After that, Meng Jia and H. Ming did the same. They displayed astonishing strength and defeated their opponents, entering the top 12. Tian Yun versus Feng Tai. Meng Chong's voice sounded. Lu Ming stepped forward. When he saw his opponent, the corners of his mouth curled into a smile. Feng Tai, ranked 183rd on the list of top 1,000 talents, was very powerful. He was also the Heaven's Pride expert who had been beaten up by him last time. Feng Tai looked at Lu Ming with an ugly expression. He had been beaten up by Lu Ming previously and he had lost a lot of face. Chapter 884 Counter Control. However, Feng Tai did not provoke Lu Ming as Sunrise did. He had clearly seen what happened to Rising Sun. He was rather fearful of Lu Ming. Tian Yun, it won't be that easy for you to defeat me. I don't believe that your Tao of inscription is that powerful. Feng Tai said in a low voice. Make your move, you'll know once you try. Lu Ming smiled faintly. Feng Tai didn't say anything. He waved his hand, and Tulavir giant puppets appeared in front of him. These were 12 giant Wallevers. Their bodies were completely black, and they emitted a powerful aura. 6 of them were at the 10th rank of level 6, and the other 6 were at the peak of the 9th rank. Each of them was 5 meters tall and 10 meters long. They looked like 12 giant monsters. The 12 giant wolf puppets formed a large formation. They roared and pounced at Lu Ming, causing the fighting ring to rumble violently. This Feng Tai should have lit up 7 mind lamps at each level. Lu Ming's heart stirred. An ordinary inscriber could control 1 or 2 puppets, and that was already impressive. Feng Tai could control 12 powerful puppets at the same time, and he could even form a large array. His mind power must be very strong, far beyond that of an ordinary inscriber. At the same time, his mastery of mental energy fire must have reached the peak of the subtle realm, or else he would have found it very difficult to do so. In the past, the tribes that Lu Ming had encountered in the underground world were just superficial knowledge that Lien Song had passed on to him. He did not understand the essence of the knowledge. In addition, The people in the underground world had limited talent and their mental energy fire was not strong. Their control of the mental energy fire was also very shallow. Usually, they could only control one puppet. Compared to the paragons of the Talisman Amulet sect, they were far inferior. Lu Ming put his hands behind his back and smiled faintly as he looked at the Tulavir puppets that were charging at him. He did not summon the puppets to fight the enemy, nor did he take out the inscription scrolls. What is Tianyun trying to do? Could it be that he was going to rely on a temporary formation to fight against Feng Tai's puppet battle formation? How is this possible? Inscribing a formation in an instant can't be of a very high level. It's fine to use it against enemies with a great disparity in strength, but it's a little too much to use it against Feng Tai's puppet battle formation. It's hard to say. Tianyun has already reached the heart limit realm, and his inscribing speed is unparalleled. He might be able to inscribe some powerful formations in an instant to resist Feng Tai's puppet battle formation. Seeing this situation, many people started to discuss. Just as the puppet was about to reach Lu Ming, he took a light step forward. A total of Tulavir formations appeared on the ground. The formations glowed, and a human figure condensed. Lu Ming. All the figures condensed by the array were Lu Ming's figures, which were exactly the same as him. The surrounding people were dumbfounded. What kind of formation is this? How come I've never seen him before? I've never even heard of it, let alone seen it. Someone exclaimed. Tulavir Lu Ming's figures appeared beside the Tulavir puppets. In a flash, they rushed towards the puppets and extended their palms to slap them. Break! Feng Tai let out a low roar as he controlled his puppets to attack the Tulavir figures. Bang! 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 The Tulavir figures were extremely fragile. After being hit by the puppets, they immediately collapsed. However, before Feng Tai could smile, the collapsed figures turned into runes that spread on the Tulavir puppets, forming a formation and entering the puppets' bodies. I don't care what tricks you're playing, take this. Feng Tai growled and controlled the puppet to continue pouncing at Lu Ming. This time, Lu Ming stood on the fighting ring with his hands behind his back. He really did not move at all, not even his feet. What is this Tianyun trying to do? He didn't move at all. Was he looking for death? Or are you planning to admit defeat? At such a close distance, it's already too late for him to inscribe a formation to resist. Has he really given up on the competition? Does he know that he's no match for Feng Tai? The surroundings were filled with clamor. Tianyun, fight back! Below the stage, Bai Qixue shouted with a worried look. Roar! The giant wolf puppet howled and brandished its sharp claws, trying to grab Lu Ming. It's over, this Tianyun is finished. I don't know what's gotten into him, but he's not fighting back, nor is he admitting defeat. Someone cried out in shock. Lu Ming did not admit defeat. Feng Tai could continue to attack. In the sky, Bai Shijin, Du Songjue, and the rest were also staring at the fighting ring without blinking. Their eyes were filled with doubt. They did not know what Lu Ming was planning. If you're pretending to be mysterious, then you'll be defeated. Feng Tai's eyes were filled with madness and a hint of joy. He could finally take revenge for what happened last time. Just as the giant wolf puppet's claws were about to land on Lu Ming, the Tulavir giant wolf puppet suddenly stopped and froze in front of Lu Ming. What was going on? Don't tell me Feng Tai showed mercy. That must be it. Feng Tai must have stopped the puppet when he saw that Tianyun couldn't fight back in time. Everyone guessed. However, they didn't see that Feng Tai's expression had become very strange. It was filled with bewilderment, astonishment, and even shock. Roar! The 12 giant wolf puppets howled and turned around one after another. They stood in front of Lu Ming and looked at Feng Tai, who was opposite them. Many people were confused. This didn't seem right. Go! At this moment, Lu Ming spoke. Then, the 12 giant wolf puppets roared and charged at Feng Tai. Impossible! Feng Tai let out a roar of disbelief. The blue light between his brows flickered, and the mental energy fire danced wildly. However, he discovered that he had completely lost control of the Tulavir puppets. It was as if his connection with the Tulavir puppets had been cut off. He was shocked. Boom, boom, boom. Tulliver's huge puppet stepped on the battle stage and pounced towards him. He roared and waved his hands, inscribing a formation on the ground. Light flashed and the formation appeared. Unfortunately, it was no longer able to stop the puppet's iron hooves. In an instant, the formation he had inscribed was destroyed, and the giant wolf puppet's huge claws grabbed at Feng Tai. "I admit defeat! I admit defeat!" Feng Tai shouted. The giant wolf puppet's claw stopped on top of Feng Tai's head. Everyone in the surroundings looked at this scene in shock. What was going on? What the hell was going on? How did Feng Tai's puppet end up being controlled by Tianyun? I don't know. What's going on? Could it be the formation that Tianyun carved earlier, the formation that condensed Tulliver's bodies that were the same as him? That was the formation that controlled Feng Tai's puppet? What? There was actually such a formation in the world? How come I didn't know about this? There was a clamor all around. Many people couldn't control their emotions and cursed. The key was that the scene was too strange and amazing. What kind of formation is this? In the sky, Bai Shijin and Du Songjue looked at each other in a daze. They had never heard of such a formation before. Chapter 885 Fighting H. Ming. Master Lien Song never mentioned such a formation. If there was such a formation, he would have passed it down. Du Songjue said. The others nodded in agreement. It seems that Lu Ming not only obtained Grandmaster Liao Tsong's legacy, but he also had other fortuitous encounters. Bai Shijin sighed. This formation is very intriguing, but its effect is not as great as you think. It's completely dependent on a strong mental energy fire and the formation to cut off the connection between the opponent and the puppet and take it for one's own use. Lu Ming's mental energy fire is much stronger than Feng Tai's, which is why he was able to do it. Du Songjue pondered and commented. His eyes were sharp, and his guess was pretty close. Of course, Lu Ming had learned this array from Dandan. Just like what Du Songjue had said, it required mental energy that was much stronger than the other party to be able to do it. If the mental energy was weaker or similar to the other party, it would not be possible. However, other than supreme martial artist experts like Du Songjue, how could ordinary people see the profoundness within? Naturally, they were shocked beyond words. Meng Chong was also stunned for a moment before he announced, Tianyun wins this battle. The crowd was in an uproar. It was the first time they had seen someone win like this. Roar! The Tulliver giant wolf puppets growled and turned to walk toward Lu Ming. Wait a minute, Tianyun, my puppet, can you return my puppet to me? Feng Tai shouted. Yours? You must be mistaken. These puppets are clearly mine. If you don't believe me, you can call out to them and see if they'll care about you. Lu Ming said with a smile. I. Feng Tai stammered for a long time, but couldn't say a word. His face turned red, and he gritted his teeth and said, These puppets were originally mine. Everyone saw it. Don't you know that this is a trophy? If you have the ability, why don't you take it back? Lu Ming stared at Feng Tai with an unfriendly gaze. Roar! The Tulliver puppets growled and stared at Feng Tai with cold eyes. They bared their teeth as if they were ready to pounce at any moment. Feng Tai was so scared that his face turned pale. Lu Ming smiled. With a wave of his hand, he kept the Tulliver puppets into his storage ring. Feng Tai's heart ached so much that it almost bled. The Tulliver puppets, especially the 6 at class 10 of level 6, were as powerful as those at the exceptional spiritual ocean realm. They were also invulnerable and fearless. In a battle, they were even stronger than a warrior at the exceptional spiritual ocean realm. Each one of them was worth a fortune. He had paid a great price to get it, and his heart was bleeding. The price of an inscription scroll of the same grade couldn't be compared to that of a puppet. Inscription scrolls were much easier to make because they could only be used once before disappearing. As for puppets, they could be used for a long time. The process of making them was very complicated and many materials were needed. They were very precious and their price was much higher than inscription talismans of the same grade. His heart ached. Lu Ming was in a good mood and he got off the fighting ring. Many people cast envious looks at Lu Ming from all around. On the other hand, Yen Tongtong and the other paragons of the puppet sect looked grim. They were thinking that if they encountered Lu Ming later on, they could not use the puppet anymore, or they would suffer a huge loss. In this way, Lu Ming successfully entered the top 12. The competition continued, and very quickly, the top 12 were all born. After a short break, they continued the competition to determine the top 6. This time, Lu Ming's opponent was another heaven's favorite from the puppet sect. This person was very powerful and ranked higher than Feng Tai. However, he was trembling with fear when facing Lu Ming. He did not even dare to take out his puppet and only used inscription formations to fight Lu Ming. He was mainly afraid that Lu Ming would take the puppet. How strong could an inscriber who specialized in puppeteers be if he only used formations and not puppets? With a wave of his hand, the 12 giant wolf puppets that he had obtained from Feng Tai charged forward. With the help of Lu Ming's formation, they easily defeated the genius. The man was extremely aggrieved. He majored in puppeteering, but he could not use puppets. Not only that, but he was also surrounded and beaten up by Lu Ming's puppets. He was so depressed that he wanted to vomit blood. There was another person who was also extremely depressed. It was Feng Tai. These were his puppets and they were being used by Lu Ming against the enemy. Lu Ming's competition was unique and not intense at all. On the other hand, the other matches were very intense. The dazzling light on the fighting stage was an eye-opener for many people. Very quickly, the top 6 were also announced. Unsurprisingly, Yen Tongtong, Meng Jia, Hu Ming, Lu Ming, and 2 other prodigies made it into the top 6. Next, it was time for the top 3. After entering the top 3, the 4 of them together with Ji Mai would compete for the top 3, which was also the quota to enter the Heaven Observation Land. Many people were in high spirits because in this match, Lu Ming, Yen Tonghua, Meng Jia, and Hu Ming would have to fight at least 2 people. The 4 of them were all Heaven's favorites who could control their mental energy fire. They had cultivated to the heart's limit realm and were obviously stronger than the others. Let's continue. The first match, Tianyun versus Hu Ming. Meng Chong announced loudly. The crowd was shocked and then cheered loudly. Tianyun versus H. Ming. This was interesting. This time, H. Ming was the biggest dark horse, but Tianyun could also be said to be a dark horse. This was because he had only displayed his powerful martial Dao before, and no one had expected his Dao of inscription to be this powerful. In the battle between 2 dark horses, who was stronger? Moreover, H. Ming was from the Talisman sect. He was not afraid of Lu Ming's array that could cut off other people's puppets. Buzz! Buzz! The 2 of them flew up to the fighting ring. Please, Sky Cloud Zongzi. H. Ming was very polite. He nodded slightly and greeted Lu Ming. He addressed Lu Ming as Zongzi. This was one of the few people in the Talisman sect who addressed Lu Ming this way. Please. Lu Ming nodded and cupped his fists. Ta! Ta! H. Ming was the first to move, and runes appeared on the ground. Instantly, a few formations glowed, and red flames condensed into swords that floated in front of H. Ming. At the same time, light shone in front of him, and a total of 15 inscription scrolls floated around him. The inscription scrolls were opened one by one. A few of the scrolls were for protection, forming a fire shield. Some of them formed a fire dragon. Buzz! Roar! The flaming sword and the flaming dragon attacked Lu Ming. What a powerful flame! Lu Ming's eyes flashed. Be it the formations or runes inscribed by H. Ming, they were all flames. Moreover, the temperature of the flames was frighteningly high. Lu Ming felt that it was not inferior to the extreme purple heavenly fire cultivated by the Wang family. Moreover, although an inscriber did not understand the essence realm of heaven and earth, every inscription was in accordance with the great Tao of heaven and earth. They were obtained from nature, so the array that an inscriber inscribed was natural and carried the essence realm of heaven and earth. H. Ming had used a formation to inscribe it, and the flames it ignited were extremely terrifying. Bang! Bang! Lu Ming stomped his feet and a blue array flashed on the ground. Entering the top 4. The array that Lu Ming inscribed was different from that of H. Ming. Most of the formations that Hu Mingming inscribed were crimson in color, while Lu Ming's was blue. A dragon's roar resounded as a blue flood dragon condensed from the blue formation. It pounced toward H. Ming's sword and the flame flood dragon, clashing with each other. For a time, the rumbling sounds continued, and the fighting ring was filled with a white mist. The array that Lu Ming inscribed was all about water. The attacks they launched were all related to water. Lu Ming stomped his feet and waved his fingers. On the fighting ring, formations emerged one after another. There were water swords, water spears, flood dragons, and tigers formed from water. They pounced at H. Ming. H. Ming was also continuously inscribing formations, and at the same time, he was using the talismans to launch powerful attacks. Of course, H. Ming only shot out blazing flames. It was a battle between water and fire. This Tianyun has learned a lot of things. The formation he inscribed earlier clearly doesn't have anything to do with water. There are other elements. That's right. This Tianyun is truly astonishing. He's an unparalleled prodigy, and not only is his martial Dao powerful, but his Dao of inscription is also astonishing. We've all underestimated him. That's right. With his talent, he's qualified to be a Zongzi candidate. Not bad. An inscriber was actually the same as a warrior. They also had a preference. The inscriptions and formations they mastered were also biased towards a certain type. For example, H. Might was more inclined to fire, so the formations he carved were all fire type. Some people were more inclined to water, ice, lightning, and so on. Furthermore, formations were like martial arts techniques. Many of them were privately passed down, and not everyone could cultivate them. They were like secret skills. The mental energy fire was like a warrior's true essence, while the formation was like a martial technique. Go! Lu Ming took out the puppets he had obtained from Feng Tai. With a wave of his hand, Tulavir puppets roared and charged at H. Ming. As he controlled the puppets, Lu Ming also inscribed the formation. Many people were stunned. Lu Ming was controlling Tulavir puppets at the same time and could still inscribe formations continuously without slowing down. This was a little terrifying. How strong was Lu Ming's mental energy? H. Ming's eyes turned serious. With a wave of his hand, another stack of inscription scrolls appeared in front of him. His mental energy fire spread out and continuously activated the inscription scrolls. Attacks were launched at Lu Ming and the puppets. Moreover, H. Ming's inscription scrolls were all at level 6 and level 10, which were very powerful. Amazing, both of them are so amazing. Tianyun and H. Ming's strength is already on par with Yan Tunghua and Meng Jia. That's right. Any one of them has the strength to enter the top 3. Even many of the older generation nodded in shock. Below the stage, Ji Mai, Yan Tonghua, and Meng Jia all had a serious look in their eyes. If water doesn't work, then add ice. Lu Ming's lips curled into a smile. He waved his fingers and an array appeared. The temperature dropped rapidly. Countless ice swords appeared and shot toward H. Ming. Lu Ming's hands moved faster and faster. More and more arrays appeared on the fighting ring and there were more and more attacks. The dense ice swords had already begun to suppress H. Ming's attacks. With the addition of the Tulavir puppets, H. Ming was already at a disadvantage. Fast, it's too fast. How can the speed of the Tianyun inscription formation be so terrifying? Far beyond H. Ming. Cultivation level. Tianyun's cultivation level is higher than H. Ming's. Tianyun has at least reached the middle stage of Heart's Limit. That's terrifying. He's only a rank 6 alchemist, but he's already in the middle stage of Heart Limit. That's amazing. Everyone was amazed. At this moment, the fighting ring was filled with white light and a cold air that seemed to be able to freeze the air. H. Ming had no power to fight back. I admit defeat. H. Ming suddenly shouted. Lu Ming's hands moved and he waved again. The array on the fighting ring disappeared. H. Ming gasped for breath, the mental energy flame between his brows throbbing as he felt waves of fatigue. He had exhausted his mental energy in the battle just now, and he could no longer continue fighting. On the other hand, Lu Ming was calm and composed. It was as if the huge battle just now did not consume much of his energy. Sky Cloud Zhongzi's strength and spirit are both impressive. H. Ming is impressed. H. Ming smiled and cupped his hands. You're also very strong. I won by luck. Lu Ming said with a smile. This battle, Tianyun wins. Next battle, Yen Tong vs. Zhang Xian. Meng Chong announced. Everyone perked up and watched the next match. Yen Tong was a heaven's favorite from the puppet sect, and Zhang Xian was also a heaven's favorite from the puppet sect. Both of them were very strong, and the battle was very intense. In the fighting ring, a large group of puppets were fighting each other. However, in the end, Yen Tong's psyche was stronger, and his psyche fire was also stronger. He controlled more puppets and defeated Zhang Xian. Then, it was Meng Jia's turn. Meng Jia was also a chosen of the puppet sect, and had won by controlling the puppet army. Just like that, the top three were born. They were Lu Ming, Yen Tong, and Meng Jia. With Ji Mai, they were the strongest four. The four people sized each other up. They only needed to eliminate one more person and they would be able to obtain a spot on the observatory. The four of you will take turns to fight and be ranked according to your battle results. Meng Chong announced. Lu Ming nodded. Usually, the specific ranking would be arranged in this way. It was the fairest way. In this case, each person would have to fight 3 rounds, one against each of the other 3. The first battle, Tianyun vs. Yen. Next, Ji Mai vs. Meng Jia. Meng Chong announced. As soon as he finished speaking, the atmosphere of the scene was completely ignited. The final showdown was finally about to begin. Lu Ming and Yen Huanhua went on stage at the same time and stood opposite each other. Who do you guys think will win if Tianyun and Yen become one? I'm guessing it's Tianyun. Tianyun has a formation that can suppress the puppets. At the same time, Tianyun is extremely powerful himself. The fact that he was able to defeat H. Ming is enough to explain everything. I think so too. Among the 4 of them, only Ji Mai can fight against Tianyun. Yen Tong and Meng Jia might be weaker than him. The people around them started to discuss. However, no one dared to underestimate Lu Ming anymore. Since the start of the competition, Lu Ming had already proven himself. Tianyun, while your formation is bizarre, it definitely has its limitations. It's impossible for you to simply sever the connection between my opponent and the puppet and take it for your own use. It won't be that easy for you to defeat me. Yen Tong said. His eyes were filled with strong fighting spirit. Obviously, a genius like him would not admit defeat so easily. We'll know after the battle. Lu Ming chuckled. All right, then let's fight. Yen Tong waved his hand, and 15 puppets appeared in front of him. Each of them exuded a powerful aura, and they were all at Class 10 Level 6. Yen Tong was able to control 15 Class 10 Level 6 puppets at the same time, which was terrifying. 15 6th level 10th grade puppets pounced on Lu Ming at the same time. The fighting ring rumbled and the momentum was shocking. Crushing spiritual power. There was a faint smile on Lu Ming's face. He looked at the 15 puppets with a calm expression. The puppet was getting closer and closer to Lu Ming. Countless people were looking at Lu Ming on the fighting ring. They knew that Lu Ming was going to use that move again. Was that technique still effective against the assimilation of appearance? Everyone's eyes were fixed on it. Very soon they would know. Just as the puppets were a few meters away from Lu Ming, he took a step forward and 15 formations appeared on the ground. With a flash of light, 15 figures that looked exactly like Lu Ming appeared. The moment they appeared, they pounced on the 15 puppets. Bang! Bang! As soon as a figure came into contact with a puppet, the figure would explode like a balloon and turn into wisps of inscriptions that spread over the puppet, forming a large array that entered the puppet. Come, I don't believe you can cut off my connection with the puppet. Yen Tong's eyes flickered, and the mental energy fire between his brows was dancing. In front of Lu Ming, the 15 puppets came to a halt at the same time. They were not moving at all, and their heads were emitting a dazzling light. Lu Ming was cutting off the connection between Yen Hua and the puppet. You want to cut off my mind fire? Impossible. Yen Tong Tong roared and stopped all his movements. A blue spiritual fire flickered between his brows, turning into invisible spiritual threads that connected the 15 puppets. Between Lu Ming's eyebrows, there was a blue fire of blood essence that was jumping. He was using an array to cut off the connection between Yen Hua and the puppet. However, Yen Tong's psyche was much stronger than Feng Tai's, and his use of psyche fire had reached the heart's desire realm. His psyche was firm and unyielding, and it was more than 10 times harder to cut it off than Feng Tai. Lu Ming realized that he had encountered strong resistance. "You can't stop me," Lu Ming muttered. The mental energy fire between his eyebrows burned even more vigorously, almost materializing. His mental energy surged into the puppet's head and acted on the formation. The puppet's head flickered with dazzling light. "I won't lose." Yen Tong Tong's eyes were firm as he tried his best to resist. In the end, he even roared, and spiritual rings appeared above his head. Red, orange, yellow, green, cyan, and blue. There were 6 spiritual rings. The first 4 rings had 8 light spots on each of them. The green and blue spiritual rings behind them had 7 light spots each. This meant that Yen Tong had lit up 8 lamps in the first 4 levels, while level 5 and level 6 had lit up 7 lamps each. If Yen Tong could not light up the 8th lamp of spirit at level 6, then his next step would be to break through to level 7. The first 4 levels lit up 8 spirit lamps, while the 5th and 6th levels lit up 7. Such a result was already very impressive. The spirit ring appeared, causing Yen Tong's spirit energy to increase greatly. His spirit energy surged into the puppet like a tide. Roar! Roar! The 15 puppets roared and their bodies trembled slightly, as if they were about to be controlled by Yen Tong again. It seems like Tianyun's formation requires a powerful mental energy to cut off the connection between the puppet and the opponent. At this time, the others also saw the secret behind it. This is normal. Otherwise, if it can cut off the connection between others and the puppet at will and take the puppet for itself, then this kind of formation is too heaven-defying and unreasonable. Many people nodded. However, they were still staring at the fighting ring unblinkingly. They wanted to see if Lu Ming could successfully suppress Yen Tong Tong. If he could not take Yen Tong Tong's puppet, they would have to fight him head-on. My eyes are also blurry. Damn, why are my eyes blurry? Why did I see him light 10 spirit lamps? Can you help me see how many he lit? The first 5 levels all had 10, and the 6th level had 5. What? Why did you see the same thing as me? Are your eyes playing tricks on you? I saw the same thing. Me too. The scene was in a mess. Almost no one could believe what they had just seen, subconsciously thinking that their eyes were playing tricks on them. However, when everyone gave the same answer, they were stunned. The entire place fell into dead silence. Everyone's eyes and mouths opened wider and wider. They couldn't help but feel like they were being sucked in by a gust of wind. For the first 5 levels to have 10 mind lamps lit up, that was too terrifying. He had achieved perfection in all of them. Was he still human? In the tens of thousands of years of talisman amulet sect history, the only person who could achieve such results was Emperor Liao Zong. Now there was one more. As for the 6th level, there were only 5 light spots. That was because Lu Ming had yet to reach the peak of this level. God, this was simply a monster. It was no wonder that the leaders of the 2 sects and the elders would let Lu Ming become a Zongzi candidate. With such talent, wasn't it normal for him to become a Zongzi candidate? In the crowd, Su Ri, Guanrong, Feng Tai, and the others who had been beaten up by Lu Ming were all tongue-tied and stood there in a daze, completely speechless. It turned out that their enemy was such a monster. At this moment, they were secretly glad that they were still alive. They were on a completely different level from Lu Ming. Forget it, it's not wise to be enemies with such a monster. Sunrise shook his head and sighed. He had thought of taking revenge on Lu Ming in the future, but now, he had completely given up on that thought. Feng Tai, Guanrong, and the other Heaven's favorites also shook their heads and sighed. They admitted that they were unlucky. Who asked them to be blind? Ji Mai, Meng Jia, and H Ming all widened their eyes in shock. It's not an injustice that I lost to him. H Ming laughed. On the other side, Bai Qishue's little mouth was wide open. This fellow has kept me in the dark for so long, Bai Qishue thought. Many of the talisman amulet sect's elders, who did not know about this beforehand, were also shocked to the extreme. They looked at Bai Shijin and the rest who were smiling in the sky. They finally understood that the elders had long known about Lu Ming's talent. On the fighting stage, Yen Tongtong was even more shocked and dumbfounded. Even his spiritual ring was shaking. Boom! Lu Ming's mental energy gushed out like a tsunami and surged into the puppets. Yen Tongtong was shocked. How could he resist it? Lu Ming cut off the connection between him and the puppets. The 15 puppets were completely under Lu Ming's control. It seems like Jimai can't defeat Meng Jia. That's right, the two of them are evenly matched. Meng Jia's strength is definitely not weaker than Yen Tongtong's, but she can't be stronger either. Does that mean that Tianyun will be able to obtain first place this time? It's hard to say. Jimai is from Talisman sect. Tianyun can't restrain him. It's hard to say if he hasn't fought him before. Sounds of discussion could be heard in the surroundings. Lu Ming was also looking at it seriously. He frowned slightly and his gaze fell on Jimai. He had a feeling that Jimai wasn't that simple. Jimai gave him a dangerous feeling. Jimai still had a killer move that he hadn't used. At this moment, Jimai waved his hand and all the scrolls that had not been activated were kept away. The others were stunned. Jimai kept the inscription scroll. Was he going to admit defeat? Or was he afraid that if he continued to fight, he would consume too many inscription scrolls and lose more than he gained? The puppets of the puppet sect could fight for a long time. The talisman sect used inscription scrolls. If they could not defeat their opponent in one fell swoop, they would suffer great losses. It was normal for Jimai to admit defeat after a long battle. Jimai, are you going to admit defeat? Meng Jia said. Fight. Jimai's answer was simple. Then I won't be polite. Meng Jia continued to control the puppet and pounced at Jimai. When Meng Jia's puppet got close to Jimai, Jimai's hand was like a sword. He slashed out and a dazzling sword light burst out, as if it could split the sky in half. Bang! The sword light accurately hit a large condor puppet. One of the puppet's wings was cut into two, and it was sent flying far away. At the same time, Jimai's palm struck out and the sword light was sent out. Bang! Bang! Several eagle puppets were sent flying in succession, suffering serious injuries. What a terrifying power. A Class 10 Lever 6 puppet was extremely hard, but it was cut in half by the sword light. Lu Ming's pupils constricted. Martial arts technique. No, it's a formation. I'm carving the formation with my body. Lu Ming was extremely shocked. His gaze fell on Jimai. At first, he thought it was a martial skill, but after a closer look, he knew it wasn't. At this moment, inscriptions appeared on Jimai's skin, forming a mysterious array. It gave off a terrifying aura that was beyond the level of the spirit sea. Using my body to inscribe the formation, I'm inscribing the formation with my body. Many people cried out in shock. It is indeed a formation carved with one's body. Jimai should be carving a level 7 killing formation, the Golden Light 10,000 killing formation. An elder spoke. He's actually using his body to inscribe a formation. Lu Ming muttered to himself. Using one's own body to inscribe a formation, as the name suggested, was to inscribe the formation into one's physical body and completely integrate it with one's physical body. This would make the physical body itself a killing formation. This was completely different from the quintessential essence explosion formation that Lu Ming had inscribed on his body in the past to conceal his aura. The arrays that Lu Ming inscribed were all auxiliary arrays. They were only temporarily left on the surface of the body. After a period of time, when the energy was exhausted, they would naturally disappear. However, carving a formation with one's body was different. It was to completely carve the formation into the depths of one's body and merge it with the body. The body was the formation, and the formation was the body. This was extremely terrifying. As long as his mental energy fire was strong, his physical body could unleash the power of the array at any time. First, it was Yen Tongtong and Meng Jia who were fighting for third place. The two of them were both puppets. As soon as the battle began, it was incomparably intense. The collisions between the puppets were violent, direct, and brutal, causing thunderous rumbles to ring out continuously. Both of them had similar spiritual power and the same level of their spiritual fire. They were both in the early stage of heart limit. It could be said that they were evenly matched. The two of them fought for a full half an hour. In the end, Yen Tong, who was more tenacious, won by a slight advantage. In this way, Yen Tongtong finally secured the third place. Then, the last battle between Tian Yu and Ji Mai began. The two of them stepped onto the fighting ring and stood opposite each other. Everyone's eyes were fixed on the fighting ring. Who do you guys think will win, Tian Yun or Ji Mai? Now it seems like Ji Mai has a higher chance of winning. After all, he has cultivated the Golden Light 10,000 killing formation. It's so powerful that no one can resist it. I don't think that's necessarily the case. Tianyun's methods are varied and he's skilled in many formations. Furthermore, his psyche is extremely powerful. Who knows if he has other tricks up his sleeve? That's true. This match is going to be interesting. Gradually, the noise around them quieted down, and the crowd stared at the two people on the fighting ring. Tianyun, I will not hold back in this battle. Be careful. Ji Mai reminded. That's exactly what I want, you can just attack as much as you want. Lu Ming smiled and stared at Ji Mai. Suddenly, a terrifying aura emanated from Ji Mai's body. Dense runes appeared on his skin. Whoosh! Ji Mai waved his hand and a terrifying sword light slashed towards Lu Ming. Go! Lu Ming waved his hand and 12 puppets appeared. They roared and rushed towards Ji Mai. Bang! A giant wolf puppet at Class 9 Level 6 was cut in half by the sword light, but the other puppets didn't stop and continued to attack. At the same time, Lu Ming stomped his feet and waved his hands, starting to inscribe an array on the ground. Whoosh! Whoosh! Ji Mai waved his hands and beams of sword light flashed. Lu Ming controlled the puppets to attack and block the sword light. Among the 12 puppets, 6 of them were at Class 9 Level 6, and they were quickly cut in half and turned into scrap metal. The other 6 were at Class 10 Level 6, and were severely injured. However, it managed to hold them off for a full 10 breaths, buying enough time for Lu Ming to inscribe the formation. Whoosh! Whoosh! A large formation appeared around Lu Ming. Sword Chi whistled and thunder rumbled. The endless sword Chi shot towards Ji Mai. It was a top-grade Level 6 formation technique, the Sword Howling Thunder formation. Many people were shocked. They did not expect Lu Ming to be able to inscribe a top-tier Level 6 formation in just 10 breaths. Break! Ji Mai shouted and waved his hands. The inscriptions on his body glowed and a terrifying aura spread out. The sword radiance slashed violently, clashing with the Sword Howling Thunder formation. At the same time, Lu Ming continued to inscribe the formation. Although the thunderous sword formation was strong, it was still unable to fight against Ji Mai. Soon, the formation was broken by Ji Mai. However, in the next moment, another formation of Lu Ming appeared. Countless vines, lush and green, wrapped around Ji Mai. It was another top-tier Level 6 formation. Ji Mai's sword flashed and countless sword chi rumbled as he slashed at the vines. However, the vines were extremely tough and he couldn't cut them at all. By the time Ji Mai broke the formation, Lu Ming had already finished inscribing the other 2 top-notch Level 6 formations and was waiting for him. Too fast. Tianyun's formation carving speed is too fast. That's right. His usage of mental energy fire is not as simple as the early stage of Heart's Will. It feels even more terrifying than the middle stage of Heart's Will. It can't be. Could it be that he has already reached the late stage of Heart Limit? That's a realm that only a 7th-rank advanced alchemist can reach. Many people speculated that Lu Ming's mental energy fire was at a very high level and they were extremely shocked. He had completed it step by step in a great battle with a powerful opponent like Ji Mai. The short time he took was shocking. This was a complete level 7 formation heavenly fire prison. The formation that Ji Mai carved with his body was incomplete and could not unleash its full power. It could not break Lu Ming's formation at all. Ji Mai, how is it? Lu Ming stood outside the array and his voice was heard. The light on Ji Mai's body dimmed and he sighed. I admit defeat. He knew that Lu Ming had gone easy on him. If Lu Ming had inscribed a level 7 killing array, he would have been defeated and killed. The heavenly fire prison was only a trap formation to trap him. Thanks for letting me win. Lu Ming cupped his fists. Then, with a wave of his hand, the inscriptions were hidden, and the fire pillar disappeared. Tianyun wins this battle. Meng Chong announced. With Meng Chong's announcement, the square was in an uproar. Clearly, this result was completely out of everyone's expectations. Before the competition began, no one had expected such a result. In the sky, Bai Shijin stood up from his seat and pressed his hands in the air. All the voices in the hall quieted down. I hereby announce that the champion of this competition is Tianyun. Bai Shijin's voice was like a hurricane, spreading throughout the entire area. Tianyun, Tianyun. In a certain area, a group of beautiful women were screaming loudly, their faces red with excitement. Also, Tianyun is the Zongzi candidate. Do you have any objections? Bai Shijin's voice was heard again. The entire place suddenly fell silent. All eyes were focused on Lu Ming again. Their gazes were a little complicated. Tianyun was such a genius. What else could they say? This time, he had already proven himself with his own strength. Not only was he a monster in martial arts, but even his Tao of inscription was so terrifying. How many people could there be in the world? Sky Cloud Zongzi. Suddenly, a loud shout reverberated through the entire area. It was Bai Qixue. She raised her hand and shouted. Sky Cloud Zongzi. Sky Cloud Zongzi. In a certain area, a group of women screamed loudly. This time, the shouts grew louder and louder, gradually drawing the attention of the others. Be it a few young male disciples, female disciples, or even some of the older generation, everyone was shouting the words, Sky Cloud Zongzi. In the crowd, Sunrise, Feng Tai, and the others had extremely complicated expressions. Before the competition, they were prepared to humiliate Lu Ming in the competition to avenge their defeat. But what happened in the end? In the 3 rounds of the competition, not only did they fail to humiliate Lu Ming, but they were also humiliated by him. In the end, the halo around Lu Ming became even more dazzling and dazzling. In comparison, they were like fireflies. There was no way to compare. Sky Cloud Zongzi. They laughed bitterly, and finally, they joined the crowd in shouting. Lu Ming surveyed his surroundings. At this moment, his gaze was very calm and his heart was calm. He was very clear about his goal. Right now, he could only be considered to have obtained the preliminary approval of the Talisman Amulet sect. However, this was only the beginning. He was still far from being able to truly gain the support of these people. This was especially true for the elders in the sky. His goal was the Battle of Comic Luck. His true goal was to be the champion of the Battle of Providence. Only by doing so could he gain a firm foothold on Mount Liangyi and the Talisman Amulet sect. Only then could he truly obtain the support of this force. You're tuning in to the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.